Good evening and welcome to Poker Night Live. I'm Lyndsay, joined this evening by Caspar.
Hello.
You've been making a home of this studio of late, haven't you?
I have.
Every night.
Run down to prove it.
He's very tired, but we're going to have a good show anyway. We're here till 2 o'clock. Loads of poker coming up for you. We've got all the usual stuff for you, cash games, tournaments, and a bit of a multi-table tourney as well. All real games being played online for real stakes. Cass is going to be giving you a commentary throughout the show.
And a cough.
And a cough, the odd cough, and maybe a little sniffle, but he'll be all right. We're going to be giving you a commentary throughout the show and also taking your questions. It's amateur night tonight, so hopefully teaching some new players and new viewers a bit of poker.
Hopefully.
So if you've got anything that you'd like to know about Texas Hold'em, if you're struggling or you're a new player or you just want to tell us a good old poker story, then you can text in the studio. The number is 62211. There it is. Or you can email us. There it is on your screen, poker@pokernightlive.co.uk. And if you want to get any more info about the show, you can have a look at our website, www.pokernightlive.co.uk. There it is, a really good forum on there as well. So we've got lots of games coming up for you. What have we got, Cass?
I don't know, let's have a look.
Let's have a look.
Look at that.
Look at that.
A $2 tourney. Queens and sixes.
Nearly over.
It is. There'll be another one.
Yes, there will.
There's one along every minute. There's a $10 tourney with all the boys. Look, Johan, your Dalmatian, your Hoofy. We'll be back there. A 25 50-cent cash game. A cash game. All your boys, look. They've gone now, but they were there. And a multi-table tournament in the very early stages. Perhaps we'll have a look at that in the early stages. Who knows?
It could be quite interesting. I've got a feeling you're going to be a bit of a handful tonight.
Do you think?
Yes.
That's libelous, isn't it? Get my people to sift through the show. Lyndsay, you don't know what you're laughing about.
And we've got a theme to tonight's show as well, Caspar, haven't we?
I'm very
excited.
Yes.
I am too.
We had a very astute viewer who texted in the show a few weeks ago and said, avoid any poker book that categorises players as kinds of animals. Very, very true. Tonight, we're going to be categorising players as animals. We want your views on what sort of animals different players should be. So we've got the foxes, they're the wily ones. We've got the sharks, they eat the fishes, swimming around in the schools.
I just point out this is Caspar's idea, not mine.
It is.
I like it though, I do like it.
Brilliant idea. So what sort of animals would you have? What sort of player is a giraffe? You've got one, haven't you?
Well, I was thinking maybe snakes, you know, the sly ones, the one who make the crafty little moves on you because you'd look at them and say, he could crawl under a snake's belly with a top hat on.
Yes.
Those ones.
Very good.
So we want people to relate different styles of poker play to animals.
Yes. Who's the lion? Who's the king of your table? That sort of thing. You get the message. Let's move on.
Yeah, 62211, or you can email poker@pokernightlive.co.uk. Right, we're going to go straight to a game. Get away from this animal talk for a second. It's a tourney. Look at that, $10.
I'm a tiger.
Is that what you would be?
I'd like to be a golden eagle.
Really?
Soaring high above the game from the Poker Night Live blimp.
Nice, excellent.
Looking down on it, looking down on all those hole cards turned up, revealing a fascinating view of a poker game.
Excellent.
Yeah, an
Are you not more like a little sickly puppy tonight? You're a little cold.
Yeah, well, can I be a sickly eagle? I'm sure eagles get sick.
Yeah,
All right,
yeah.
I'm a sickly eagle then.
And at least then when you're feeling better, you can soar above the poker room again.
Yes. Yes. Sickly soaring.
So guys, relate animals to certain poker playing styles and why. I'm sure we'll be able to learn a lot about poker from doing that.
Well, I mean, it's not the most educative and informative text we've ever had, but hopefully it'll be fun.
But
and if you're saying there's no room for fun in this world, Lyndsay, then I pity you.
I am absolutely not. I'm up for fun as much as the next girl.
Well,
I think it's a good way of talking to people about the different styles of player that you'll come across, because we talk so much about reading players, how to read players, the different table images people have, the
Yes.
styles of play, and it's a
Yes.
good way of doing it.
What about a mouse? A little mouse?
One who sits in the corner and never plays. Or
Very shy and timid.
they would be too scared to even play a pair of aces.
Yes, just a little mouse. And if you re-raised him, you could put his hand down every time.
Well, I've got one, the magpies. They're the ones who steal the
Steal
blinds.
the blinds.
Yes.
Good, you see? You're getting into
I'm
it.
getting it, I'm getting
You thought
it.
this wouldn't work.
No, there you go. Okay, so we got a $10 tourney.
Excellent.
$10 buy-in for this tournament. All the players start with 1,000 chips. When the chips are gone, they're out of the tournament. The top 3 places will be paid.
What am I?
An owl?
Yes.
Yeah.
See, I've read all the books. I've studied, and I'm just going to sit here waiting for the cards, playing the tight aggressive style that they all teach.
Right.
See, told you it would work.
What kind of owl? Snowy owl?
If you want. Don't care.
Just an owl.
Barn.
Yeah, barn owl's more of an internet player because they stay in the house to play. Stay in the barn.
That's right, yes. Barn owl in the house.
Yes.
What are you, folks? What animal are you?
When you're playing poker.
When you're playing
we don't
poker.
want to know about anything other than that.
I don't know. Quite fun to...
I don't want people texting and telling me that they're an animal in the bedroom. They can keep that to themselves,
No.
thank you.
Neither do I. Most of these viewers are men.
Yeah. So the blinds go up every 10 hands in our tournament. It forces the action and gives it a conclusion. Very quickly.
What am I now?
We can't see you.
Well, you can.
I don't know, you're creeping along the floor. A badger?
But badgers not known for their creeping, are they? Ooh, there's a creepy
It was
badger.
the way you were walking on your hands, like you had little stumpy legs.
Just like a chameleon, yes. Well done,
Oh,
I'm a chameleon. I'm
chameleon.
blending into whatever game I experience.
Right, so you can be whatever type of player you want if you're a chameleon.
That's right.
You can adapt to your situation and your surroundings, which is what a good poker player should do.
Well, actually, a good poker player shouldn't be a chameleon. A good poker player should be a contrarian, which
Right.
is not a kind of animal. It's the opposite of a chameleon. He tries to stand out from his the rest of his game. Oh, that's not entirely true. He might try to stand out in terms of his style, but not necessarily his image. His image probably should blend in. If you're playing poker with a group of drunken guys, you want to pretend that you're drunken, don't you?
Yeah.
So there you are. I'm wrong. Wrong. Well, I instantly correct myself, so that's all right.
Yes. As long as you did that, we're all right. Anyway, I'm feeling good tonight. Graham Souness has been sacked and all is right with the world.
Yes. All we need now is for Kev to come back. KK, the Cowboys.
Yes.
You've just been up to Tyneside, haven't you?
I have, yes.
And what's
this
the atmosphere
weekend.
like?
It's brilliant. The whole place has changed.
Really? They knocked down the Metro Centre?
No, I mean the atmosphere,
Oh,
the
right.
buzz. People aren't walking around looking subdued anymore. There's renewed confidence.
Poor old Graham Souness.
And that
Can't blame it
result
all
on
him, can
Saturday
we?
was just what we needed to make everyone feel better.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
So we've still got a full table. Blinds are 20-40. A lot of the regular players in this tourney.
There are, aren't there? A lot of regular players. Johan, Dalmatian, Hoofy, Buffy, Balrog. I'm sure I've seen more Delm.
I wonder how the Dalmatian plays. If he's anything like my best friend's Dalmatian, Spencer, they'd be knocking everyone out very quickly.
How would a Labrador play if it was a Labrador?
Just for
be
fun.
Labradorial, yes, bouncing
Just
around.
for fun, yeah. You wouldn't be
Bouncing
playing
around.
to make a profit, you'd be
No.
playing to have a good old time.
Yes, good, okay. How about a red setter?
I don't know, I've never encountered a red setter before.
What are the dogs called? Bloodhound. Bloodhound would sniff out the losing player, wouldn't he, and exploit him, attack him.
Yes.
Yes, he would hunt down the losers, the fish.
Yes.
Actually, I'm not sure bloodhounds can smell fish. Well, they probably could if they were going off, but not if they're swimming in a stream.
No.
Maybe they could, I don't know.
I don't know.
I think the dog's nose is like something like 1,000 times more powerful than a human's.
So guys, we want you to relate your poker playing style to an animal. What animal are you? You can text us in the studio, 62211, just to keep Caspar happy. He's He's not feeling very well.
No, I need cheering up, folks. So make them good, make them funny.
Or email if you want, poker@pokernightlive.co.uk. Ace King for Balrock.
What am I now?
A gorilla.
No.
A bear.
These aren't my arms. This is a big body.
A bear.
No.
An elephant.
Close.
A mammoth.
A hippopotamus.
A hippopotamus.
Do you know they kill more people than lions?
Really?
Yeah. What animal kills the most people?
Crocodile.
No.
Shark.
No.
Rottweilers.
No, they kill millions. Not rats or pigeons, my producer's saying in my ear.
Snake.
No.
Snake bites.
No. Mosquitoes.
Mosquitoes. Yeah, of course. Malaria.
That's right. I remember seeing that in the Natural History Museum when I was very little. In a little red circle.
Yes.
It was the deadliest animal on earth, and it was a little mosquito.
Aww.
And, you know, when you're 11 and you want to see a great big man-eating crocodile...
Yeah.
That's
quite
a real
disappointing.
letdown.
Yeah. I can imagine.
I'll tell you what, though, my mum thought it was fascinating. And it's a sign of my age that I do now.
Like you've remembered it.
So that I find it fascinating now. That's one of the signs of getting old, just like liking slippers.
Yes.
So, I think there's a game of poker there, isn't there?
There is, yes.
Oh. What have we got to say about it?
Well, it's all pretty even Stevens at the moment. We've lost one player, but looking at the players we've got on the table, it's going to be a pretty tight game.
Mordell, we've lost to John. I didn't know him. Don't care.
No.
He's not one of the boys. That's who we love, the boys.
But we like new players on Poker Night Live.
Very important to get new players in any kind of game. Not just poker, croquet. Everyone thrives on new players.
Can that be a serious problem to your game if you played with the same people over and over again? Because you're all just completely used to each other's playing style. It's very hard to get one up on each other.
It changes the game. I mean, it's like the age-old question: does it make it easier or difficult? Is No Limit easier or difficult than Limit? Is internet poker easier or difficult than live poker? I don't think those questions make any sense, to be honest with you. I just think they're different. They're different games.
Yeah.
And the difference, when you know each other's play, is that you have a great appreciation of each other's style, and therefore it makes it a game in which the bluff and the double bluff become more interesting.
Yeah.
Because there is something to subvert. If you don't have any idea how the other person plays, then the other person can't subvert your expectations.
Yeah.
Whereas if you have an idea how they play, then those expectations can be subverted. And that's when you enter the realm of plays which are either genius or nonsense.
Right.
Depending on the intentions of the player, which is quite a weird area, because you wouldn't say a forehand in tennis was either brilliant or rubbish. It's either brilliant or rubbish.
Yeah.
It's one or the other. It can't be one or the other depending on your opinion. It's a pretty objective opinion, you know, an Agassi forehand down the line.
It's one way or the other, that's it.
It's one way or the other, yeah. So, sorry.
Caspar's just deciding which flavour Lemsip to have. if you're wondering why, he just lost his thread there for a second.
It's actually because my producer's trying to get my computer to work, and my mindset was thinking, he's trying to get my computer to work, he's trying to get my computer to work, and suddenly he just presented me with 2 sachets of stuff. I wondered which one was going to get my computer to work. Dual action throat lozenge I'm going to try now.
Dual action.
I wonder what the other thing it does apart from cure my throat.
It'll lubricate.
Lyndsay, I'm not in need of that right now.
Your throat.
Oh. Well, meanwhile, back at the game. Here are the lads, fighting it out valiantly, and we're making innuendo. Quite thoughtless.
I was talking about throat lozenges.
Well, we'll let the lads be the judge of that, won't we? With their texts and emails.
Oh, they already think I'm dirty, judging by the forum.
Yep.
I'm
Yes,
still
they do.
very upset about that.
Have you written to your agent?
Not yet.
My job is to come in here and present. It is not to accept lewd innuendo
Yes.
on the interactive forums.
On the forum. But of course, Kara provides the refined sophistication that Poker Night Live needs, and I provide the get down and dirty. It's not funny.
It's a bit. Dalmatian raises it up 3 times the big blind. There you go, some poker commentary. Looming its head at 10:15. And looming its head? How do you loom a head?
Raising its head.
Raising its head. Buffy, timing out. Better things to do.
So these guys need to be starting to build up a decent chip stack at this stage of the tournament, otherwise later on those blinds are going to eat them up.
Yeah, but they've got to do it in a careful, cautious and measured way. So look, there's a table of tighties here, folded round to the small blind.
Table of Scotsmen.
Well,
so the rumour goes.
You said it, not me. I can't be getting into those hornets' nests. Anyway, if I was a hippo, we were talking about them earlier, do you remember?
Yes.
I'd be the big stack at the table, wouldn't I?
I remember your arms waving down your sides like you're walking like a gorilla.
They're not arms, they're like my big, it's like my big belly. That's
right.
what I'm doing, like my big belly. I'd be the big stack at the table, bullying everyone with my big stack, running after them and eating them. If I was a hippo.
Like the game, what's it called?
Hungry Hippos. Yeah, just like that.
Like Pac-Man?
It's not known for its hippos, is it, Pac-Man?
No, but it eats things up as it walks along.
I think we stretched the image there into territory which it just can't sustain. The metaphor can't sustain itself.
No. So, folks, we want you to relate animals to certain poker playing styles and why. What animal are you when you're playing poker? Text us in 62211, or you can email poker@pokernightlive.co.uk. Or indeed, you can just ask a poker question to Cass if there's something that you'd like to know. If you're a new player, get your questions coming through to us as well. We are here to help. Well, Caspar is. I'll read them to him and agree with everything he says.
I've missed out the obvious, of course. Any species of dog with a bone. On the flop with my big pair. That's why we call them bone doggers. And I say we, I mean the community of P&L.
Yes.
Doesn't go beyond that. Sitting waiting for his bone for a long time, then when he gets it, not letting go of it.
Yeah.
Losing money to those little hidden trips.
Sort of players who write obscenities in this chat box could be the rats, spreading their poison.
You had some bad experiences?
No, not really. I haven't actually. I've been tempted, but I would never respond. Turn it off is the most sensible thing to do.
Got a bit of poison on the forums at the moment, Lynds.
Oh, really?
Yeah, bad show. Bad show by the boys. Some abuse rearing its head.
Oh, really? What
after
about?
6 months of pleasantries. Well, I don't think we should dignify it. I've asked them to knock it on the head, though. There's a time for abuse and there's a time for having a laugh.
Yes.
And the laughing time has come.
So we're not seeing many flops on this table at the moment. Lots of magpies just taking the blinds.
Very good. What else are they doing? What animal would you describe as tight? One's popped into my head, but can't say it live on air.
A porcupine. Rolled up into a little ball, not
Yeah.
letting anyone attack them.
Good, yes, I like it. Or a turtle,
Or a tortoise.
pulling it back into its shell.
Is it a tortoise or a tortoise?
I think either will do in this day and age.
Yes. Kings for Jon Harren. What should he do now? Raise it up?
Definitely. And a significant raise at that. He's got a first position caller, so there's 200 in the pot. So at least 4 or 5 times the big blind for me. Let's say 4. 240 is alright, I was going to say 320. And he'd love a call from Buffy. Buffy.
Now, should Shuffler have just flat called there with ace queen?
So
He
the
didn't
pot
really
was
achieve anything.
440. You had to put 200 in, so it's getting 2 to 1. So yes. If you're asking, should he have called in the absence of knowing what Johan had, then the answer is yes, definitely. If he knew that he had kings, he'd be forgiven for putting it down. He's got a 30% chance of hitting the ace by the river,
Yeah.
which is not really enough. Although, in actual fact, if he'd been calling all in there, he'd have been about the same. His pot odds were about 2 to 1, and his true probability of winning is about 2 to 1, so it's about a break-even proposition there.
But if he'd be good, it's gone all in with king queen, but with 280 left, it's the right time to do it, really.
Yeah,
isn't it?
absolutely, but that takes him up to 400, which, 5 big blinds. A bit more aggression here, which is great to have the ace-queen in this situation.
So all these players should be looking at their chip stack in relation to how many big blinds they've got left.
Yeah.
So so they know when to take action.
Yeah, that's right. So ace-queen, a good starting hand, but a problematic starting hand. I mean, certainly let's not go around dissing ace-queen too much. It's one of the better starting hands you can get dealt. We're looking for big high cards, big pairs, and pairs, maybe suited connectors. Those are the main categories of starting hand that we're looking for. And ace-queen is 2 very high cards, so that's okay. Ace-9, not so good. I know some starting players see the ace and go, ooh, fantastic, but that way madness lies.
Blinds moving up quickly, 80, 160. But still only one player down.
Yeah, well, these are good players, you see, so they're protecting stacks, playing well. And my feeling against players like this is you do have to mix it up a bit. I mean, it's very difficult to get an edge over Hufi and Dalmatian and Johan and Balrog. Where does it come from? For me, you've got to take advantage of their concept of the gap and start opening up and being more aggressive.
Maybe he's our second player there.
Hold it around to Buffy.
Good old Dalmatian out of the tourney. And you can't spot him now.
That's very good. And you incorporated the animal thing in there, keeping with the theme of the show. Very clever. Very clever. I didn't see that coming.
We've got some animal emails, Cass.
Thank
just
the
to make
Lord.
you feel better.
Because I tell you what, I've never plugged a theme so much in my entire life. I'm sick of kicking off with themes that literally get about 3 emails during the course of the night.
He was terrified you weren't going to respond to him, the poor thing. So I'm going to put a smile on your face now. This one's from Big Jace, who says, good to see Cass on the show again. He's been on top form over the last few nights, mixing up fascinating, in-depth psychological analysis with inane schoolboy humour.
Comes the other way around, I think you'll find. Inanity first, always.
He says, just a quick email regarding poker animals. The animal I relate to most strongly at the poker table is a sheepdog.
Ah, very good.
This is because I will wait patiently, showing great discipline until I've seen opportunity to herd some chips, and then I'll pounce. Also, after winning a huge pot, I like to excitedly run around in circles, chasing my tail.
Come by. Come by.
Good stuff.
I used to live in Wales.
Oh, we have more, Cass. This
All the
one
way
is from Snowblind, who says, "Hey, Cass, I'd be a chameleon, always changing my style of play."
Yeah, clever. Blending into the background.
Yeah.
Can I do my chameleon impression in Vision now?
Do it in Vision.
It was really bad. It was just this. Oh no, it doesn't work. You've got to do it
He
profile.
does look like a badger.
Because chameleons have those funny hands, don't they, like that?
I want you to show people your hippo impression
I'm
now.
not going to do that. Let's go back to the game.
Okay.
Okay, here comes the hippo impression.
Do it! Oh, you wuss. You wimped out.
Do you know what? I love making the guys in the gallery think that they have a little bit of control. You know, because they don't. To be honest with you, get out that much.
Was that your inane schoolboy humour?
Stroke, have girlfriends. Sorry, what?
Was that your inane schoolboy humour?
That's what it was.
That's
what it was. Blink and you miss it. Back to the intelligent stuff.
And we've still got 6. Ooh, look at that for Caesar. 4 of a kind. 4 5s.
That's lovely, isn't it?
Lovely jubbly. Now he's got the 3s.
I was doing a corporate gig the other day, and this guy had never played poker before, and I very, very first hand had quads. Didn't know what to do. He was brilliant, actually. He stayed very, very calm.
Yeah.
But it was like, what do you do in your very first hand of poker ever when you flop quads?
Well, I did. Remember?
Did you?
Well, I don't know if you were here. No, you
No,
weren't.
I wasn't chosen
It was Dr. Tom and
to
Nick
teach you
on our
poker.
training day. Nick thought I was just a crazy girl because I had 4 4s and he was just betting at me. And I thought, what is she doing?
Yeah.
Raising me.
Mick never told me that.
And he thought I
interestingly.
just didn't know what I was doing, and he thought he was going to absolutely take all of my chips off me. So I just kept betting at him, thinking, like, well, I know I've got 4 4s, and even though I don't know very much at this stage, I know that's really good.
Yeah.
And then when I do, he was waiting for me to like turn over a 5 and a 6 offsuit or something after hitting nothing on the flop, and when he realised I had 4 of a kind, he was like, oh, that's why you were doing it.
Shuffler with the ace queen and just a call. Now that call from Buffy, it's good that it hasn't scared Shuffler, because in the long run that will not be dangerous. And Shuffler correct to raise that up, in my opinion. And a mistake from Buffy there, really. 10 Jack, not good enough to go to war with, for me. And the mistake there, guys, was calling in late position. The call is something you can only really do if you're loaded or if you've got chips to spare. Ultimately, at this stage, you've got to be raising, and where Buffy was there, I think you'll be raising all in. That's my personal opinion. That's my personal opinion. I think you've got to be getting players to fold, take the blinds, and add all that equity of winning that way. Just calling with 10 Jack is not the way to win money in tournaments, in my opinion. Can I read it?
Yes, go on then.
We've had an email here from Andy, who says, "They call me the mantis, as I like to pray." They used to call me the priest for very much the same reason.
Aww. So come on, what poker animal are you? What animal relates to your style of play? Text
Me
us.
personally, oh, that's them.
Yes.
Yes, do text
It's for
us.
the viewers.
Yes.
62211 is our text number, or you can email poker@pokernightlive.co.uk.
Me, a
Yes.
stonefish.
Why?
I sit there dead still, but if you tread on me, I have enough poison inside me to kill a man.
You're scaring me
A
now.
stonefish. Actually, stonefishes do scare me. The sea generally scares me. Billy Connolly once did a thing about, why do we still go in the sea? The things in there don't like us.
No.
When will we learn that? I used to get absolutely terrified when I used to go diving with my dad of moray eels.
I'm like that. I have to wear jelly shoes when I go on the sea. I'm frightened to stand on the bottom.
Because of stonefish. I mean, you know, when there are people dying all over the planet, I think your silly
But
jelly
it's
shoes...
more like those little spiky
Barnacles,
things, what
yeah.
they called sea urchins.
Yeah.
Those.
Yeah, that's less sensible. Caesar with the Jack-10. Nothing much here, folded around to Johann. Five-handed, and we will get five-handed by this stage because the blinds are just so big they will just force the action. Big king-queen for Balrog. That's a time to push for me, and he does. And there's not much these two can do about it. Both of them good enough to lay it down.
Do you prefer these single table tournaments, or do you like playing the multi-tables, or?
For me, very much a single table man. For the simple reason that I have a style that works on them, and the lack of too much variance, by which I mean uppy-downiness of your bankroll, that's a technical definition, sits easily with me. To be a great poker player, you have to be able to live through variance, but it's not easy. You know, there are all sorts of things we've talked about on this show as making it easier, but it's never going to be easy. As one book is entitled about giving feedback in companies, it'll never be easy, but it can be better. And that sums up man's approach to variance.
And what about for new players? Are the changes in the variance in the single table tournaments a bit too much, or what are the advantages of a new player playing one of these tournaments? I mean, obviously not at this stakes, $10 will be too much, but...
Well, you know, the funny thing is about single table tournaments is that they're another thing, like internet poker generally, excuse me, that when I was playing, you know, on a daily basis in Las Vegas, they were nothing. I mean, they were called, what were they called? Satellites. You know, and you play a single table tournament to get into a bigger tournament,
yeah.
Get a seat into a bigger tournament. Each of you put a tenth of the value of the seat in. And, you know, satellites were played a lot, and you could go to the World Series and sit and play in satellites all day, and you got the money, and you could exchange it for a seat in a tournament. You could just sit playing satellites all day. But it wasn't the case that it was like this great thing to do, you know. And yet I love them, absolutely love them online. I don't know whether they are particularly suited to the online environment or what. I tell you what, I like Johann's play at the moment. He's really coming out firing great guns, and he's been called there by an ace. But I still think that kind of aggression is good and pays well. And he's just missed his straight there, which is a shame. And Shuffler will take that with the ace high, but still good play for me by Johann. Still good stuff. Hoofy probably going to push here, and Johann will call. And the only thing I'll say about a single table tournament is when it gets to this stage and the blinds are so high, the fact that I'm calling everything before it happens, it's not because I'm a poker genius, although, you know, no, it's not because of that. It's because they've got so few choices that it's so obvious
what they're going to do.
Yeah.
It's easier to read people.
Well, no, it's easier to read people from up here. No, it's because I'm only doing that because I can see what cards they've got. Yeah, no, that's to say, I am no poker genius. Let's be clear about that. But that is a very strong argument against multi-tables.
I suppose the reason why they're so good online is because the good thing about online poker is the fact that you can fit it into your life very easily. It's not like you have to get up, go out a range of time to go to play a live game, which takes a lot of planning. And the fact that these single table tournaments are over in 30 to 50 minutes, you know, to an hour, you can. They're very easily sort of fit into your busy daily schedule.
Yeah, they're practical.
Yeah,
definitely.
And that's what I meant.
And you get you get some great play for your money in the sense that you can buy in for $10 and you can be playing poker that approaches the psychological level of a much higher level cash game, just because players will play according to tournament strategy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So they'll very largely understand the concept of the gap, what's called the gap, which is the fact that it takes a much better hand to call than it does to raise. So you find yourself raising with really bad hands, but only calling with very, very good hands, thus creating a gap between the standard of hands that you'd raise and the standard of the hands that you call with. And the application of that principle, which interestingly, whilst you might not know it in those terms unless you've read the right book, people do understand intuitively, which is one of the many things actually that people understand intuitively about poker without necessarily being good players. As we say goodbye to Shuffler, and it's gone heads up now between Johann and Caesar. My money's on Johann. I think he's been playing a great aggressive game here. But Caesar's pushed in, stealing Johann's 1,200 blind. And Johan raising it up. So, yeah, people's innate understanding of the gap means that you get an interesting game, far more interesting game than you would in lots of other circumstances for the same money in poker. So, so good for all those sorts of reasons as well. As we see Johan with kings and tens with an ace kicker, beating anything that Caesar can muster with his Jack 3. So well done, Johan.
And there we go.
Great stuff.
Good tournament.
Good tournament.
Great play from Johan,
Great
as
play
always.
from Johan, as always. Just repeating it now, like a parrot. You could call me a parrot. If we were talking about animal terms, I'd be a parrot. Or a macaw.
Who's a pretty boy then?
Me.
Right, I've got an email for you from Jimbo, who says, following the good advice from the Poker Night Live team, I try to analyse my game after each session. It's fairly easy to determine when you've made a bad call and figure out why you shouldn't have called, and of course try not to make the same mistake again. But how do you know when you've made a bad fold? The way I see it is that making a bad fold is a double whammy. You lose the chips in the hand and you lose the chips that you would have won. I'd appreciate any comments that you may have on this.
Interesting, Jimbo. Number of things to say. The first thing is, I certainly started off my poker career advocating, if in doubt, fold. And I think I probably still stand by that. But the range that you put the word doubt into does have a massive impact on that sentence. I think the thing is, I completely understand what you're saying, but the problem with what you're saying is that it becomes an argument to call to see what see what the situation was, and that is the premise or principle upon which poker is based. Because you have to pay to see someone else's cards, what that means in general is that people will pay incorrectly bets that the correct player makes.
Yeah.
So in other words, if you're ahead and you make a bet, people will call it because they're reticent about folding and giving into that uncertainty. They want to see the cards that you've got. So that's the worry. I completely understand. It is the kind of folding is the kind of play that will give you nightmares. As the email from Smoothcut yesterday, which Tom and I analysed for ages, very readily observes. Smoothcut had an absolute nightmare. Tom and I both thought it was a very, very marginal situation that he was in, very, very difficult. And he did lay it down, and he was incorrect on that particular occasion, and he lost the pot. But, there will be times when he will also call and lose that money and lose all the money in the pot as well. So we will make bad plays, and the point is, being a poker player actually involves making bad plays. And one of the things that we demonstrated yesterday with Smoothcut's email is that even if Smoothcut had, we felt that he should probably have called, all right, so that's fine. But what we demonstrated was that Smoothcut could have called there and lost 2 times out of 3, and it would still have been the correct play. And that's quite an interesting thing to take on board in your poker education, is that you can make the correct play and lose. And similarly, therefore, ergo, it stands to reason that you can fold with the best hand and it still actually be the best play. So, kind of mind-blowing concept sometimes for the person just taking up poker for the first time, but trust me, they're true.
But from a simple point of view, a lot of the time you don't really know if you've made a bad fold unless you actually know what they won with.
It's very difficult.
What your opponent won with.
Yeah.
And sometimes I find ignorance is bliss, especially if you know that they had a worse hand than you. It's better not to know.
If you take that to its logical conclusion, though, you become an alcoholic, don't you? You just live in a stupor.
Okay. Thank you anyway, Jimbo. Jules has been in touch. She says, hi, when you're playing in a multi-table tourney, how do you calm yourself down when you're doing well? It's getting to the end and the blinds are getting so huge. Refer
my right honourable friend to the answer I gave some moments ago. A stupor. Get into a stupor. And nothing makes you tense at all. Then you're completely calm. Failing that, if you're more intent on winning the tournament and worried about the impairing effect of alcohol on your ability to count, You've got to accept, again, I know this is a silly thing to say, let's take that multi-table tournament that we just saw. I said I was calling the plays that the players were going to make. Again, not because I was a genius, but because they were obvious. When poker gets to that stage, when the hands are playing themselves, when skill is not exacting anything on the game, then you're going to win or lose by basically virtue of the cards. We see the occasional good play, we see the occasional mistake, but when it gets to that stage, it becomes a crapshoot, which is why, incidentally, I advocate extracting your edge in the early stages of the tournament while you have one. That's why I don't advocate playing so tight for the first 2 or 3 rounds, because I don't think you're giving yourself an opportunity to benefit from your increased skill. If you have it, if you don't have it, what are you doing in that game? So when it gets to that stage, you might be really under pressure by virtue of the blinds on your stack without doing anything wrong at all. And you have to understand that the most wrong thing that you can do is make outrageous mistakes. Now, if it's got to a situation where people are playing very, very tightly and it's raise and take it, and you've got 30 big blinds in your stack, then make some raises. But in actual fact, if you were just putting your money in with the best hand, if you make a raise in mid to late position and someone comes over the top of you and you look down and you've made that raise with ace queen or ace jack, then fold it. Just play good poker and allow yourself, and just only call when you know you've got the best hand or the correct pot odds to call. And I think if you play like that, then you stand a good chance of having a positive overall expectation in the tournaments that you play. It's as simple as that. Don't think that you're doing anything wrong just because you feel your blinds are under pressure and you're being squeezed out of the tournament. People will know that I advocate steals and having a playbook, and we've talked about some of those on different nights, and I won't go through them every single night. But just have a faith, Jules, that you could be an absolute winning player and have played 15, 20 multi-table tournaments and have just had, no cards for a crucial 2 hours. How many times have you not had cards for 2 hours sitting in a cash game? Happens all the time. And it could just be happening in that tournament. And you know what? There's nothing you can do.
Just don't panic.
Yeah, just don't panic. Just accept consciously that there's nothing you can do. I'll give you an analogy. In blackjack, if you've got 16 and the dealer's got a 10, you need to hit it, right? You're in a massively loss-making situation, but you need to do the thing that will minimise your losses, and hitting 16 is the correct thing to do mathematically in that situation. Feels really bad, doesn't it? Because if you bust, you feel like you're responsible for it. What happens in life is that people think that they can exonerate themselves from any responsibility for the situation. That they can take responsibility for the situation and either take action or not take action, and that feels like they seize control. But in actual fact, very often the right thing to do is axiomatic, but it might feel wrong. So it might feel like by letting yourself get blinded away that you've absolved yourself of the responsibility to act. But in actual fact, it still might be the right thing to do, just like hitting 16 is the right thing to do. So relax, don't sweat it. You're probably playing very well.
Excellent, but thanks for getting in touch, Jules. We're going to head over to a different sort of a game now. It is the cash game, a small stakes cash game, okay. 25 cent, 50 cent.
Okay, I'm going to have another throat lozenge.
Okay. Did it work? Was it dual action?
I'll tell you what, I don't feel very lubricated.
You're not getting any assistance from me.
That hasn't worked.
Okay, 25 cent, 50 cent cash game. More the stakes our new players should be looking at getting involved in. So a completely different sort of a game. The blinds stay put at 25 cents, 50 cents. And these players can play as long as they want. There's no definite conclusion to this game. They can sit down and leave whenever they want. So what's the maximum amount that they can come to this table with, Cass? 100 times the big blind, is it?
Yes, it is. The big $50. So look at that. Taurus is doing well.
Mm-hmm.
More than doubled. Johan, still up. Good for him.
And we do always say to give yourself a fighting chance at these tables. You do need, if you come into these tables, it's the best thing is to be able to sit down with the maximum amount.
Well, no.
No?
We've changed.
Oh, really?
We've changed. Tom and I have
You
changed.
never told me.
Have you been still buying for the maximum amount? You dinkus. You want to watch our shows, Lyndsay, you'll learn a lot.
You give me a headache, you two. I can't understand it.
It is quite heavy. No, it's an acquired taste.
I just watch you thinking
How serious are you about poker, though?
Those two are too clever for their own good.
We are.
You make me feel thick watching you sometimes.
No, don't ever feel like that.
So tell me what you've changed
Well,
to.
we've decided that your stack size should be governed by two things: your playing style and your ability in relation to the table. And it all comes down to the concept of implied odds, which I'm sure a lot of our viewers will be familiar with, and I'm sure a lot of our viewers won't be familiar with. So we'll just have a quick rundown of what implied odds
something
are.
we mention a lot, but something that can be quite difficult for...
Well, do you know what? I think Pokemon Life's changed all that. I mean, in the early days, implied odds was this real highfalutin concept, and of course, when you first come to poker, it might still be, but we say it so much now that it's basically run-of-the-mill, isn't it?
It's about the way you say it, isn't it?
Yes. Pot odds is the money that you're getting in relation to the pot at that time. So if the pot is $1,000 and it costs you $100 to call, your pot odds are 10 to 1.
Yeah.
All right? Your implied odds is the amount of money that, by implication, will be in the pot by the end of the hand.
Yeah.
Okay? Hence implied odds. So if you're getting $100 and the pot is $1,000, pot odds are 10 to 1. But what if you know that you can get $2,000 from your opponent on the river?
Right.
All right. That means you can make a further $2,000, right? Which means that your implied odds are actually 30 to 1. That 1,000 plus his 2,000.
Yeah.
Yeah. So 30 to 1 implied odds. The odds of the money in the pot in relation to how much it's costing you to call by implication at the stage of the river.
Yeah.
Okay. So implied odds, if the other players that you're playing are bad and your hand is very hidden, then you could get lots of big, juicy implied odds on your hand.
Yeah.
Okay. Implied odds, incidentally, is what makes a hand like, let's say, 10-8 suited, or even 7-8, or 6-2 suited, could be absolute trash hand, playable. Because what you're saying is that if they hit on the flop, if they hit on the flop, then they have very big implied odds, because no one will guess that you've got 6-2.
Yeah, of course.
Right?
Yeah.
So you'll make a big pot with 6-2. 6-2 probably still an unprofitable hand, but it still has good implied odds. Okay. If, therefore, you play a game that relies on implied odds, if you play a loose-goosey style, right, which involves playing lots of little cards,
Yeah.
then you want lots of implied odds. Now, if you want lots of implied odds, you must have a big stack to exploit that.
Yeah.
Right? If you want to win a lot of money from other people, you've got to have a lot of money in your stack yourself. Okay? So that means if you are playing a lot of hands, buy in big. By the same token, if you're only playing a few hands, then buy in small. Okay?
Yeah.
If you're playing a very tight game, then ideally what you want to be doing is trying to get their money in with aces before the flop, and therefore it's going to benefit you to have a small stack. You don't want them to have implied odds to take lots of money off it. Okay? So if you play a loose game, then buy in big. If you actually play a tight, aggressive game, what Tom and I have concluded is that you actually benefit from buying in small. All
Right.
And just to summarise the second part of it really quickly, if you're a good player, you want to buy in big, because good players benefit from implied odds, and if you're a bad player in relation to the table, then you want to buy in small.
So if you're playing well and you're confident in yourself and you know that you can take control of that table, then you need to have a big
nice
stack
big
to be able
stack.
to do that,
Yeah.
because then you can take charge and push people around
Yeah.
and benefit from those implied odds.
Implied odds, that's right. But the problem comes, so you can draw a grid, right?
Yeah.
And so if you are a tight, bad player, definitely buy in for a little bit.
Yeah.
Right? If you're a good loose player, definitely buy in for a lot. All right? But what if you're a good tight player? That creates a kind of
Yeah.
tension. The two.
It's hazy ground.
It's hazy ground, as you say. Absolutely.
Right, Cass, I'm going to get a couple of questions
We've
for
got
you
some
now.
fantastic emails at the moment.
Oh, right, Jim, thank you for your jokes. We love them. We might get those a bit later on. We also want your emails and texts about animals, don't we, Cass?
Yes, very much so. But in the
And
meantime,
about-
we've got Blasphemy from Ken Snapper. Are you ready for this?
Yes.
Blasphemy.
Blasphemy, Ken Snapper, I'm disgusted with you. He says, are you losing your marbles? You want Kevin Keegan back? Ken, of course. King Kev. He says, I moved down here a couple of years ago after a few years in that part of the world. Well, okay, it was Sunderland and Washington, a completely different thing, Ken, altogether. It's the forbidden land that you were in. He says, and I became quite fond of the area and the people. I would never wish Kevin Keegan on them again. How long before he yet again surrenders when the going gets tough? I don't know what animal he would be, but it wouldn't be one of the fighters.
What would he be? What's a yellow-bellied animal?
Don't know. Kangaroo. That's terrible. Yeah, but the thing is, Ken, what you're forgetting to realise is the good thing about Kevin Keegan, he's great with teams when they're struggling and they're not doing very well, which we are at the moment. That's when he's at his best.
Which is also how he usually leaves them.
No, but he normally gets them.
No, don't be wrong. I love Kev, but more for sentimental reasons than practical ones.
Blasphemy, blasphemy.
Read out Lee's email because it's good.
Yeah, thank you for getting in touch with the show, Lee. Says, good evening. Caspar, you numpty.
I'm a numpty.
You're a numpty.
I'm a numpty,
a Humpty Numpty. I normally agree with most things you say. However, since when was a mosquito regarded as an animal? Where I live, we call them insects.
Where does he live? Sunderland, I expect.
Probably Sunderland, yeah. Anyway, great show as usual. I'm off to the Dominican Republic next month with my girlfriend, all paid for courtesy of my poker winnings. Excellent stuff. Certainly wouldn't have been possible without the sound advice of Poker Night Live.
Can I say something in my defence? Right?
Go on then.
You're absolutely right, I'm a numpty. A mosquito's an insect. But you know when you play paper, scissors... No, not paper, scissors. You know you play 20 questions and you say animal, mineral or vegetable?
Yeah.
You don't say animal, insect, mineral or vegetable, do you? Mosquito is not a mineral or a vegetable. It's an animal.
It's one of God's creatures.
I'm sure insects is a subset of animal. Perhaps some sort of... Is it philology? The categorisation of things? Or is that stamp collecting?
I don't know.
Is that philately? Anyway, I'm sure someone can give me some sort of justification for thinking that mosquito, whilst it is an insect, is also some kind of animal as well. It's not a mammal, but surely it's not a mineral or a vegetable.
Well, I knew what you meant.
It's not a rock or a veg.
But I also know what Lee meant.
Is the
Lady Lex.
the fence hurting your arse, Linds?
Ooh! Lady Lex has been in touch. Caspar's #1 fan. You poor woman.
Can I also say that I'm ill tonight? I mean, you know, you can't get all species on the planet correct when you're ill, can you? Read the next one because it's nice.
She says, hi guys, great show. I love it when either of you are on, even more when you're hosting together. Oh, thank you. She says, I take info in when you are on and it's helped me a lot. I've changed my game and follow your guidelines and it works for me. P.S. Caspar, I feel so guilty about spelling your name wrong the other night and have come to a conclusion that I need to take you out for dinner. Just to make up for it, we'll skip dessert, then we can go back to mine and play poker all night if you want. Well, while Caspar ponders that, we'll get your answer after this short break and tell you what he's going to do. But thanks for getting in touch. See you in a few minutes. Welcome back to Poker Night Live. What was that?
All sorted.
All sorted?
My earpiece.
Are you all done?
Yeah.
Is it tucked in nice and neatly?
Only you can be the judge of that.
You're a handful tonight, you. It's like a cheeky little schoolboy. It's Lyndsay and Caspar with you till 2 o'clock. We've got loads more internet poker coming up for you. We're going to head back to a cash game in just a bit, but we've got loads of your emails and texts.
Got loads of emails and texts, haven't we?
Yes, we have. Would you like to tell any viewers who've just tuned in what the theme of the show is tonight, Caspar?
What am I? What am I? A spider? My producer said a spider? How's that a spider? I've got 10 legs. I'm an animal, of course. What animal are you?
I have heard.
That's the big question. What animal sums up your playing style, or indeed someone else's playing style? We've had some great ones tonight, haven't we? Chameleon, lion, mosquito.
Yes, we have.
Snake.
Lots of good ones. We're going to get some more of those in just a bit. We've got some emails, but before the break, we had one from Lady Lex.
Lady Lex.
And we await your response. She wants to take you out for dinner.
As always, Lex.
And skip dessert, and then take you back to hers and play poker all night.
I'll be honest with you, I'm not keen on skipping dessert. That's the best bit. I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm happy to go back to yours. I just want a pudding. Is that wrong?
Quick email from
Feels
Basil.
cheap, that's all I'm saying.
Okay. You want a bit of...
Why be in a rush? Let's go there half an hour earlier. Be fine.
As long as he gets a bit of cheesecake, he's all right.
Mine's a tiramisu.
Basil, quick text. He says, I've taken your advice from watching the show, and now I'm winning. Thank you. Lovely text there off Basil. Thank you for that one. Also, got one from Robin Saunders. He says, good evening, lady and gent. And Robin says, Caspar, do you remember I emailed last night in yours and Dr. Tom's words, I gave a certain player a rub down.
That was Dr. Tom's words. I thought they were silly words.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, he says he does have his reasons. He played against that player, and when he gets beaten, all he's done is complain and has abused the players who win the hand. It appears he acts like a spoiled brat, as he's on TV a lot and also does win a lot, and acts like a bad loser. I'm sure all you poker pros don't abuse each other when they take your money. Imagine Phil Ivey calling the devilfish an idiot because he took him out of a tourney. Where's the poker etiquette? Wherever it is that particular player has none, and I won't give you my poker handle as you never know what will happen. What do you make of that?
Okay, yeah, first thing is, the particular presenters on this show are all good-natured mannered people who wouldn't abuse a player, and we think it's quite important not to. But there are good players who do. There's no doubt about it. There are good players who make it part of their game. I don't think I should mention any names now for various reasons, but trust me, they're out there. In this particular occasion, on this particular case, I don't know whether that player, A, does it. You know, I know we haven't mentioned his name, but we did mention it last night. So I can't speak for that. B, I don't know whether he is doing it because he's letting his emotions get the better of him, or whether he's doing it to actually get a rise out of you. In any case, I think if someone's doing it and they wouldn't do it in real life, then they're cowards. Do you know what I mean? Just like any online environment. And what I'd say is, you can turn them off. You can turn their chat off, which is actually one of the great things about online poker, which doesn't apply to live game poker, is you can just literally just prevent those people from riling you. So, choice is yours. I agree with you. I think it's pathetic, and I also think it's bad in the long term because, we've said many times, it makes people who are bad players reticent to play in any event and only confident about playing once they've improved a bit. So it's completely self-defeating. So that's the reason I would never ever do it. In fact, the only time I have ever abused a player is for abusing a player and affecting us all badly as a result of it. So that's where I stand on it, but people will have their own personal opinions on it. And I think outright abuse is always wrong in any walk of life, but there is an argument that some people's play depends on trying to get a rise out of you. Maybe that is part of the great game of poker.
Okay, good stuff. Text from Anonymous. Hi folks, I recently abandoned internet poker to take part in live tournaments. I love it, but every time I win a big pot, my hands shake so bad I can't even stack my chips. Will this stop?
Very good question. The first thing is, if one of the things you wanted to stop, and I'm being deadly serious now, is to have a couple of shots of whiskey or what have you. Because what it is I've talked about this in detail on some other nights, and I'm sorry, I'm saying this a lot recently, but I have gone into a lot of detail about the whole psychology of this thing. Your reaction is a physiological reaction to an emotional response, okay? And it is something that is stoppable. It's not axiomatic. It's not like well, I was going to say it's not like hitting your hand with a hammer and feeling pain, but even that is stoppable for exactly the same thing. 30,000 dentists or something like that now in America, 15,000, something ridiculous, don't use drugs anesthetics, they use hypnosis. And basically what you're doing is you're telling the part of the brain that experiences pain or which would react to that situation by giving you the shakes to close down. The reason you react like that is a physiological response that's there to protect you. The reason you react is because adrenaline's coursing through your veins, your heart is pumping, because if you're in that situation and you felt afraid or affected emotionally by the situation, you know, as an animal, you would want blood to course through your body and adrenaline to course through you to give you more strength for the fight or flight response. So it's a completely natural thing. The reason I suggest alcohol is because that will suppress that reaction. That's what alcohol does in all areas. The second thing you can do deadly seriously if you want to get a prescription is to get beta blockers. Beta blockers prevent you from producing adrenaline. That's what they do. Whether beta blockers should be banned as doping in poker is an entirely separate matter, because they are officially banned in things like darts and snooker and stuff like that. Or you can work on severing that link mentally, and that would involve, in the first place, relaxation techniques, in the second place, creative visualization, and I've talked about certain areas where you can, certain sources of information for creative visualization. Shakti Gawain's classic book, Creative Visualization, and I was just reading today a sports text about it. Deepak Chopra on golf is very, very good, and Howard Lederer recommends Zen and the Art of Archery. And these are texts, Zen and the Art of Poker is obviously one I've recommended a lot, but these are texts intended to get you into a more relaxed state so that those things have less of a physiological impact. Will it stop? It certainly dies down, but some people are more affected by it than others.
Okay, good. But don't drink too much whiskey. You'll get DT and shake even more.
No, but genuinely, you know, it can just take the edge off a situation for some people. I really hope I don't come across an alcoholic on this show. It's just something that can just help nip it in the bud. Sometimes when I'm public speaking, I'll have a shot of whiskey before going on.
Well, everyone always says that if someone's upset or distressed, it's like quick shot of brandy or whiskey for medicinal purposes.
Yeah, it's not Dutch courage. It's not, you know, you might have a drink to give yourself the courage to go across the dance floor and approach a girl. It's not that, because you know you're going to do this thing anyway. It's just, if you can just take the edge off the nerves slightly, then you can concentrate more on the process of doing what you're actually going to do. So it's more for that reason. But if you don't want to do that, that's fine. But there are those other two routes open to you.
Okay, before we get back to a game, quick animal one for you to text off King of Ying, who says, well, today I've mostly been playing like a lemming. Ah!
I like that.
I love lemmings.
Yeah.
I used to love it, where they go, ah, and then die. If you want to relate your style of poker playing to an animal, we'd love to hear it. You've had some really good ones so far. Send them through to us. We want to hear them. There's the text number for you, 62211. Or you can email. There it is, poker@pokernightlive.co.uk. Okay, we're going to head back to our cash game. It's 25.50 cents.
Let's go.
Let's have a look.
Do you know the lemming thing is a myth?
Really? Tell me more.
Well, I think I was reading a book of myths, and it was in there, so it must be.
All right.
Apparently, they run along the edge of cliffs, and because they're not very high, they can't see where the edge is. So some of them fall off these cliffs when they run along en masse, but they don't actually en masse commit suicide.
The ones on my game used to explode, some of them, before they...
I think what you'll find is that was a sort of a computer game representation of the actual animal rather than a documentary.
Yeah, I think you're probably right. So these guys have apparently been playing quite some time on this cash game. These stats might tell us a little bit more.
Yes, they've been folding. They're quite tight. Look, all of them quite tight in this particular game. In fact, very tight.
All over 70%.
That's very rare, isn't it? And also all very, very close together. So
yeah, because you normally get at least the odd one or two wild cards in there, mixing it up a bit, don't you? But all very disciplined.
And then Johan, obviously, he's got double figures for folding post-flop. Now, I mean, 100 hands, can't tell too much within that, but he's folding a lot more post-flop than crash flups. That might be because he's releasing beaten hands more effectively, or it might be because he's just getting worse cards, or just getting unbeaten on the flop.
Yeah.
You know, there's all sorts of short-term things that can happen in that period. And if we have a look at percentage hands won, we can see that Crash Flux is not folding very often, and he's winning 83% of the hands that he plays, which is good.
So, we had Bone there. He was the loosest of our players, although not really very loose.
No.
Folding 73%.
Excuse me.
Still made some sort of a profit, $50 being the maximum you can sit down at this table with. He's on $80.75. It is amateur night tonight, so if you have any sort of a poker question, if you're a new player and you want some help to improve your play, then you can send your questions to us as well. We're not just talking about animals tonight, although it is a dominant feature of this evening's show, but you can ask any poker questions that you have.
Yes, definitely.
Don't forget those numbers. Text 62211 or the email address is poker@pokernightlive.co.uk. Big slick for Snap It. In mid position.
Big slick for Snap It.
Yeah.
What animal would you be in life?
In life?
Yeah.
Oh. I don't know, a gazelle.
That's nice.
Can run through puddles without making a splash.
Is that what they can do?
I can.
That is a skill. But you can, personally.
Yes.
Really?
No. Just glide around.
Because I'm sure you could commercialise that.
Do you reckon?
I reckon. If you got the right, if you had like someone like Simon Cowell or Max Clifford or someone on Twitch, I bet they could make you a fortune. You look a bit like Chantal.
Oh, do you know, if one more person says that to me, and do you know what? I heard my boyfriend's friend was saying that to me the other day, and I overheard, and I was very annoyed. And do you know what my boyfriend said? Yeah, but Chantal's got a nicer ass than my bird.
He's thoughtful, your fella, isn't he?
Very thoughtful. I don't actually look anything like her, I don't think. Apart from the fact I've got blonde hair.
It's hard to tell about yourself, isn't it? Because people say that I look like Vinnie Jones and I can't see
But
it.
that's just like saying you look like every person who's got a shaved head, which is not the case.
I do get Vinnie Jones a lot, though. Listen, I don't mind. I mean, you know, he's no looker. I did have an elderly gentleman come up to me at the end of a party once, and he said, can you sort something out for me? I said, yes. He said, me and my wife having an argument. You are the lad that grabbed Gaz's nuts, aren't you?
My brother used to have that poster on his bedroom wall when we were kids. It's a great shot.
It is. Crash Flux has top pair. He has to decide whether Bone has him beaten. He does. We can see it. What is Crash Flux's decision-making process? Well, Bone raised him up before the flop, and Crash Flux just popping a little blocker bet in there, which Bone calls. A little blocker bet, meaning if he checks, then Bone might call more, but if he bets just a little bit, then Bone might not raise it. So a blocker bet, blocking him from raising it up.
So this cash game, very, very different to the tournament we were watching before. I think that's one of the biggest issues for players who are just starting, is when you go online, there's the choice of games that you have. It's quite intimidating, actually, if you're not quite sure what the games are and what you should be playing. I mean, how do people decide what sort of games to start with and for what stakes? What factors should they be taking into consideration?
I think it's definitely what they can afford, personally. I really do.
Because there are just so many.
I mean, the reason why I say that, you know, is because I had to start playing $3-6. Now, all right, that was limit, but that was like the minimum.
Yeah.
That was the minimum that I could play, and it just didn't occur to me to play anything less than that. Now, I know it makes sense to play less than that, and I know what I'm saying now is not rational, but I just sort of think, I'll tell you what I actually think, as controversial as this is, I actually think that poker needs to hurt a bit. I think it's got to hurt and it's got to elate. You've got to be pleased with wins and you've got to be hurt by losses. And that's what keeps you on the edge. I've never said that before because it's a bit contentious, but I think...
Like giving birth, all that pain for a joyous outcome.
I've never heard poker relate to the act of creating life before, but I can see what you're saying.
I've ever heard anyone say that pain could, in the long term, be pleasurable. That was the only comparison I could think of.
Oh, I don't know.
And they call me dirty.
Well, you should have heard Tom last night. I'm surprised he's still got a job, frankly.
It's you. You encouraged me.
I didn't encourage you that night. That was someone completely different. So who's the common denominator?
That was a viewer.
Rest my case. Firebird. Look, he's a bird. A bird made of fire. That's his animal.
Yes.
A bird in the sky. 3 times the big blind with ace-9. Craven folds it. Interesting fold with a rag ace. That's the kind of fold that I'd make from the big blind. I want nothing to do with ace-5 out of position, but how many times do we see it being folded? Then, very rarely, very rarely. Good for Craven. I'm immediately marking Craven down as a winner.
Right.
Let's see how he plays these 7s from the small blind. Little raise, I fancy. Good. Like it. Haven't got time for these calls from the small blind. Raise or fold, raise or fold.
Always from the small blind.
Yeah, unless you've got a pair of something like 8s or 9s and you've got 3 or 4 callers around the table, then you might sort of call from the small blind.
What about if you're on the big blind and nobody's raised before you, they've just called? Should you be raising it up if you've got good cards? Because does that look to you like they're all just trying to get a cheap look at the flop by just calling?
Yes, they might be, but you might want to just check and retain some excuse me, secrecy about what your hand is. Bear in mind when you do that, you're going to win the hand less often, but you can maybe extract a bigger pot because people won't put you on ace king or a pair of queens. Just bear in mind when you're in that big blind, what do you want? If you've got, let's say you've got a pair of queens or ace king, what do you want the raise to do? Do you want it to be a pot building raise? Do you want it to be an eliminating raise? Do you want it to be an isolating raise? You don't really want it to be an informational raise, although you will get information from it. But what do you want the raise to do? Because it's no point, if you want it to be an eliminating raise with a pair of jacks, or an isolating raise with a pair of jacks, it's just no point in this game raising it $1.
So that's how you decide how much to raise. You decide what you're trying to achieve by the size of the bet.
Yes.
And if your goal is to make people to fold, then obviously the bet has to be big enough to make them do that. Yeah, I think so. I mean, there's some contention at the moment about in what situations we want to make people fold, because I understand that we don't want too many people seeing the flop, thus giving them lots of juicy pot odds and implied odds if we've got a good premium hand. I understand that. You're giving them the opportunity to outdraw you.
Yeah, that's right. Or so they've got implied odds because they can fold if they miss it on the flop, but bet you if they take it on the flop. But at the same time, you do want 1 or 2 players to make incorrect calls. So you want to make a bet into a field of people who, a couple of whom will call incorrectly. Yeah. So therefore, you need to be quite a sizable bet, basically. I mean, ultimately understand that pre-flop, very few hands are much more than 2 to 1 behind. So if you can make a bet which the first person at least has to call and is only getting less than 2 to 1 of his money, then that's a good thing. Okay. Rob's been in touch with some poker animals. He says, hi Lyndsay and Kaz, I hope you're both well, or at least getting better, Caspar. He says, the squirrel, always after the nuts. Yes. the kangaroo likes to pocket the chips. Good, excellent.
Good one. The cheetah colludes with his mates. The armadillo, Slim Preston. I don't understand.
Because his nickname is Slim Amarillo Preston.
Oh, Amarillo, yeah.
Still good, like it.
The lemur likes a ring game.
Lemur likes a ring game.
The sheep likes a fold. Very good. The badger is fond of sex. Good. That's a good one. The womble always picks up rubbish hands. Good. That's very good. So excellent. Technically, if a mosquito is not allowed to be an animal, I don't know if we can let a womble into into our list. I'm sorry, we're going to have to draw the boundaries somewhere. Harsh. Let's go back to the game. Yeah. I didn't think you spelt lemur like that.
Now, why has no one produced the Wombles as a feature film, eh? If we're going to exploit, programmes for the 70s.
Probably will, eventually.
Surely there's a good feature film in the Wombles somewhere. I'm sure Nick Parks would do it.
Oh, and I missed the end off Rob's email. At the end, he says, P.S. I'm a mink, always getting skinned.
No, not soon, Rob. Not if you concentrate on the show and do as we ruddy well say.
Good stuff. Thank you, Rob. If you've got any poker animals, how does an animal relate to your style of play? That you can send them through to us, 62211, or email poker@pokernightlive.co.uk, or indeed, if you just have a poker question, send them through to us. You're watching a 25-cent, 50-cent cash game. These are real players who are playing online for real stakes. As always on Poker Night Live. I've already had a zero for you, and we're going to get a bit of multi-table action later on as well for you. Tens versus jacks here. Snow blinds raised it up. Johan's still ahead. I think Snow blind's going to pay here. Three times the big blind raised for Bone. And he's quite happy just taking the blinds there.
Got some interesting news on the old animal insects debate.
Oh, really?
Hot off the press.
Right.
You'll have to wait and find out. But it is...
Is this hot from the Caspar Chronicle?
interesting.
Oh, really?
Interesting.
So when are you going to tell me?
Very soon.
Okay.
Very soon.
Excellent. Tens again for Snow blind, but he won at that time.
Oh dear.
Oh, bless you.
I know.
You're suffering, aren't you?
Yeah.
It's a cash game of pairs, this game at the moment. Ooh, that's a great flop for Johan Horne. He's hit his 3. Puts in the $3. Firebird gonna pay here. Ooh, yep. Look at that. Full house now for Johan. It's going to cost Firebird, I think. Yep, he's gone all in. Oh, that was expensive.
Excuse me.
What are you up to?
I can't tell you, but
No,
suffice
please.
to say, I'm feeling very smug, and I'm going to be incredibly magnanimous. I can't even say the words. I think that says it all.
At least you can say Lima.
I'm going to be incredibly magnanimous. Well, I'm just going to be smug for 5 minutes to myself. I'm just regretting ever giving any ground live on air, that's all. Should have stood up to the emailer.
Oh, I'm intrigued.
Craven. Seeing a lot tonight. Firebird raises with bottom pair and not much else. Will he get respect?
I think if I was an animal when I play, I'd be one of those long-eared little bunny rabbits.
He will.
Because I like to see lots of flops. And I'd be known as Flopsy.
Good. That's exactly what they'd call you.
Yeah. Are you going to tell me now?
All right.
Please.
Okay, here we go.
I can't
We got an
wait.
email here from Drelda,
Okay.
who says, "Hi," and he gives a hypertext link to Wikipedia, from which he quotes, "The largest animal phylum belongs here to Ecdysozoa, the arthropoda, including insects, spiders, crabs, and their kin." That means they're brothers, sisters, that kind of thing. Going on the link,
Yeah.
which is very interesting, I personally have learned a lot, says, "In Linnaeus' original scheme, the animals were one of three kingdoms, divided into classes of vermes, insecta, pisces, amphibia, aves, and mammalia." See, I said insects are not mammals.
Right.
Since then, the last four have been subsumed into a single phylum, the Chordata, whereas the various other forms have been separated out. So there are different phylums within the classification that is the animal kingdom.
Yeah.
The above list represents our current understanding of the group, although there's some variation from source to source. It does say, in everyday usage, animal refers to any member of the animal kingdom that is not a human being, and sometimes excludes insects, although including arthropods such as crabs. This confusion stems primarily from the familiarity with zoo animals, farm animals, and pets, and not from an analytical distinction between insects, humans, and the rest of the animal kingdom. I rest what was initially a very shabby and tenuous, but has grown to be a much more complete case.
In other words, guys, he's still going on about the mosquito.
It's an animal. It's official, according to Wikipedia, the poor man's Encyclopedia Britannica.
And the mosquito is the most deadly animal
Of the world.
of the world.
Yeah.
Of the world.
And hippopotamuses still kill more than tigers.
I've got an email off Sean Tubby, Cass.
Yep.
And Sean Tubby says, when playing with ace-king suited, for example, and I raise pre-flop, why is it I still get called by jack-4 off-suit, and when the flop comes in, queen 7-4, I bet heavy to make out I hit top pair, they still flat call all the way down, even when they only hit bottom pair, and I hit nothing and go all in. They still call and bet me. Am I playing wrong, or is this just bad calls on their part? This happens all the time, and I'm losing my interest in the game. Please will you help me, as my temper is frayed.
Yeah. Well, okay. Remember what I always say, folks, we shouldn't be looking at our hands just in the context of the cards. If you are looking at your hands just in context, if you're saying I've got ace-king here, then you are rejecting a good 60-70% of the information in the hand, which is, I've got a hand here, what has my opponent done? What have other opponents done in response to that? How many players have bet? What have their betting actions been? What is the bet to me? How many blinds is that? How many blinds have I got in my stack? What sort of implied odds do I have? What are the betting styles of the players behind me? How many players do I have position on? How many players are going to have position on me? What will be the effect of a raise here? What will be the effect of a call? Then I look down and look at my cards and see what sort of strength I have in terms of the card value once I've worked out the other unknowns, such as the possible holding of my opponent, the possible actions of those around me in response to what I might do, and then I might look at my cards and see how these cards are going to pan out. So just looking at it in terms of ace-king is rejecting all that other information, because if this guy is a calling station, then we might not want to raise with our ace-king. We might just want a smooth call with it, see what the flop brings, outplay him on the flop. But if we do raise with our ace-king, what we're saying is we've got a good powerful hand here. And when it hits, it's more likely, and in the long run, it's more likely to hit bigger than jack-4. So it's in our interests to put more money into the pot at this time. But let me be really clear, that does not give us an axiomatic chance to win. Is he calling incorrectly in terms of the grand poker game? Probably is. If he carries on calling with second pair and third pair in the long run, is he going to make a profit or a loss? Probably going to make a loss. But is he calling correctly here? Actually he is, because you don't have the best hand. He has the best hand. Might be a pretty cruddy best hand, but it's still the best hand. And in poker, we want to either put our money with the best hand or put our money in when we know the opponent's going to fold, if we haven't got the best hand. Now, what you're saying here is that a lot of players are doing this with you. In other words, you're playing on a table at a certain set of limits where a lot of people are calling when you put money in. So why are you bluffing? Why are you putting money in when you're fairly sure you don't have the best hand, when all you've got is ace high? All you've got is ace high. Now, I'm being really hard on you here, Sean, because it sounds to me like you're a thoughtful player, you want to get better, and it's my job to do this. What I'm saying to you is some of the best players in the world do not make continuation bets with ace-king. They do not do it. If they miss their flop with ace-king, they're happy to check, and fold. If you don't believe me, watch not final tables where Gus Hansen's raising it up and playing big. watch, continuous games from the internet that we stream, watch continuous games streamed from casinos, go down to your local casino and watch the game. You'll see players checking down ace king all the time. Raise it up because you're likely to have the best hand, so you want to put money in the pot at that point. If you miss it, check it. Don't feel the need to try and take it, and certainly don't try and take it against players that aren't going to let you do so. And hopefully you'll get the passion back for the game. And you really, really will forget this impression that the most aggressive player will always win the hand. Just play the value of the hand as you see it in the context of the possible reactions of your opponent, and you'll find your profits increasing.
Yeah, but thank you for your email, Sean. I hope that helps you and gets your interest back. If you've got any questions, the cash you'd like them sent, just send them in to us at the studio. You can text us, and there's the number, 62211, or you can put them on an email, poker@pokernightlive.co.uk, and don't forget, we want to know if you were an animal, how would that reflect your style of poker play?
Yes, don't forget to mark your email, I am an otter.
Okay, back to our cash game. 25-cent, 50-cent cash game. And a very tight table. Saw the percentage of pre-flop folds earlier on, and all of these players are not seeing many flops. So I think 73% pre-flop folds was about the loosest player we had on the table, which was Bone. 1986.
Do you think that means that Bone is 20 years old this year?
Possibly, possibly. Might be the date of his first kiss.
Might be the time of his first kiss. I've had a kiss earlier on tonight, just wanted to record it for posterity.
Possibly. Although, even in a 24-hour clock, there's not 86 minutes in an hour, so couldn't really be that.
You could have misspelled 3. I don't know, I'm spitballing. Yeah. There are no right or wrong answers other than brainstorming.
No.
There are some rubbish ones, to be honest with you.
You're not allowed to say brainstorming. It has to be a thought shower.
Yeah, it's like that's less offensive.
Yeah.
What if you're allergic to rain? Ace Jack suited, responding to a first position raise, decides to re-raise. Wouldn't be my immediate reaction, unless Bone is a loosey-goosey. And you were saying earlier on, Lyndsay, that the statistics said he was tight or loose?
Bone?
Yes.
The loosest on this table, but not very loose.
Okay, but not very loose.
His,
that's right. It's a relatively tight table.
Percentage of pre-flop folds was at 73%, but most of the others were 80-odd%, 90% even. It's very, very tight table.
Yeah. So Crash Flux has got to be saying to himself, what would Bone be raising with an early position? Well, I don't know, because I haven't been watching the game enough. I've been checking out the philology of animals. But here are some hands he'd raise with an early position. Ace King, well, we're massively dominated with Ace Jack. Ace Queen, massively dominated with Ace Jack. Ace Jack, well, that's one of those situations where position might out. Would he raise with Ace 10 in early position? That's something you see very rarely. You might see people calling with Ace 10 in early position.
Yeah.
What else would he raise with an early position? A lot of pairs. Pairs down to probably 8s. Now, if it's aces, kings, queens, or jacks, then we're in pretty big trouble with Ace Jack.
Yeah.
And if it's 10s, 9s, 8s, 7s, or 6s, then we're just less than a 50-50 shot. So, if we raise with Ace Jack in that situation, arguably better than a call with Ace Jack in that situation.
Yeah.
which is not seizing any pre-flop initiative, but just calling with what is very likely to be the worst hand, and it is very likely to be the worst hand. But the question is whether Bone is a player who will respect pre-flop raises. Does he think about pre-flop play once it comes to the flop? Because not all players do. So I'm debating quietly to myself the merits of raising with Ace Jack on the button with a first position raiser. For myself personally, it's not a play I'm going to make, but it would depend on the player.
When you're saying maybe just call with ace-10 in early position, what would then happen though if someone raised?
I didn't advocate that. I said some players will.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
No, I would fold ace-10
in early position.
In first position,
yeah. Ace-king for the Firebird. Puts in 3 times the big blind raise.
Call by queens, classic hold'em. Now, how will this ace-king play it out? Okay to have a bet there, but in Horne, take note, he just checks. And the queen's bet. And if he's got a shred of decency, he'll fold. Did queens re-raise him before the flop there?
Just called.
They just called?
Yeah.
So interesting.
But Firebird, right to put it down there. He didn't hit his flop, couldn't be sure he was ahead. At the end of the day, all he had was ace-high.
Absolutely. And you know, my old thing with ace-king is, I think people who say that before the flop, what have you got? What have you got? You've only got ace-high. I mean, I think that's nonsense. But once the flop comes down,
after that,
and you've only got ace-high, then you've only got ace-high.
Yeah, you're very vulnerable then.
That's a fact.
That's one of the problems, or people see those starting cards, think they're so brilliant, they then struggle to put them down even when they don't want to hit the flop. They think, oh, well, I've got, you know, great hand, ace-king, but they've actually hit nothing, and there's so many other hands that could be beating them, you have to be able to put them down.
Yeah.
Unless maybe you're getting good implied odds to hit your ace or king on the turn of the river. See, I was listening.
No, it's good.
Kings for snap it.
Better than that orb. Tell you what.
Are you speaking now?
It's like talking to a towel. Did you watch our show yesterday?
Yeah, well, I saw some of it.
Did you see Saturday Nights?
I saw when you've had your little falling out.
Did you see when she stopped speaking to me?
Yes.
Do you know what happened with
Wait, she stopped speaking to you, but was speaking to you.
Do you know what happened when the credits rolled?
No.
It's really weird. We both simultaneously reached forward for the chips in front of us and just threw them at each other.
So you should have done that on camera. That would have been quality TV.
They threatened to come back into the studio to show it because we carried on throwing loose chips at each other for about 30 seconds. Got out all our frustration, and then we get a big hug and kiss, and all friends again.
I was watching, thinking, look at those children.
Yeah. Lover's tiff. It wasn't, can I just point that out?
You forget, you see, people take everything you say as gospel.
I know, that's right. They shout after me in the street, pair of sixes, they're rubbish. A3 from the small blind, put it down, snow blind. You have no need to play that hand.
That with conviction.
I personally don't. If Bones, someone will put it down and you're dominating and you're bullying, then that's fine. It's very difficult sometimes to comment. It's one of the things I found about Poker Night Live is it's lovely to have all the cards face up. That's great. I tell you what's quite difficult. It's difficult to comment on the relationship between two players.
Yeah.
Much more so on the internet than live play, and much more so when you're not one of those two players than when you are.
Right.
I mean, on the internet anyway, the relationship between you and other players is stifled.
Yeah.
And I personally happen to like that. It favours my style of play, frankly. But, excuse me.
You've been the recluse that you are.
Well, yeah, I mean, I just don't want to have to interact with people. I want to,
joking.
get on with just playing
with
poker.
Playing,
so,
yeah.
So I like internet poker from that point of view. I mean, I'm not saying, every day you want to sit in your living room on a computer. But I do like internet play from that point of view. But so first of all, there's very much less interaction. That plays a much smaller part in the game. But the second thing is when you're just watching either live game or internet play, it's very, very difficult to put yourself in their heads and get to grips with the interaction that the two players are having. I think.
Because you're not a mind reader. You don't know what they're thinking.
Yeah, it's not that. Well, it is that. It is that. But it's just there are some things in life which you have to live. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's impossible for us to have any kind of idea watching pictures on the telly of what it's like to be in a war. It's impossible to look at a game of poker and really know what sort of atmosphere there is between two players.
Yeah, it's very hard to understand a certain specific situation if you're not personally involved in it, because you're not feeling all the emotions.
That's right. That's right. And that's why it's possible to, to make dispassionate, oh so clever comments from up here, and to be capable of making a completely different play if you're in the heat of the moment. Because basically emotion distorts your rationale. That's what it does. So what we're doing is just being oh so rational and making out that it's very easy. And of course it's not. When you're in the thick of that, it's a very different...
That's why some of the best emails we get, I find, are ones from players who we've discussed a certain part of their play, and the email to explain their personal reasons for doing what they did in that situation, and often they kind of change our mind about what we said, because they've described their personal reasons for doing what they did. 'Cause they were there, they experienced it.
Yeah.
So we always like to hear back from our players who are involved in the games to defend their play and maybe enlighten us as to why they did what they did.
I'm sweating. I think I've got a temperature.
Oh, really? What can we get for you? What would make you feel better now if you could have anything in the world? No, maybe you shouldn't answer that, actually.
Am I allowed to say Japanese girlfriend?
Yeah?
That would do it. Still have the temperature, but it just would feel a lot better.
I can't even respond to that.
No, very few can. Very few can. You should try being my best mate for 13 years. Nick deserves a medal, I think. He's dealt with that nonsense admirably.
Oh. What kind of animal would Nick be? What animal describes his poker play?
Is a dork an animal? Is it?
I don't think so.
Is it not like a little furry animal that runs around doing maths and playing Dungeons and Dragons and things?
Maybe. I would say a hyena, because he's got that big little grin and he's always laughing.
Oh, I don't know. It'd be a frog, massive lips.
Rivet.
Yeah. He would say that I'd be a bloodhound with my big nose.
I've got a text out a name on. He says, I play with my husband's name, Big Ad. I'm a black widow spider. I like to get pleasure and beat my opponents, then discard them. Ha 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 ha.
Clever.
Like it.
Good stuff. Put your names on. We want to say hello to you. Oh, it's my cough again.
Oh.
That was it, wasn't it?
You are such a man. Such a man.
I've never made that claim. No, I mean, the one thing I don't...
Why is it men can't deal with common colds and women can?
Well, you're used to getting on with things, aren't you? Like the shopping and...
No, why do men, when they have a cold, they feel the need to mention them every 5 minutes? No.
I need some TLC from a lovely lady.
Oh, well, I obviously don't fit the bill, so I can't help you. I'm a Geordie.
You can be a lovely Geordie. Look at...
Wrong continent, Caspar.
Look at Michelle from Big Brother.
No, please don't.
She was rotten, wasn't she?
Yeah. Most Geordies on TV are. Give us all a bad name. Me being the exception. So always whenever they used to be on Family Fortunes, whenever you used to get the Geordie family on them, they'd come up to answer the first question. They'd go, name, what's
Name a character from Jungle Book. Balloon!
Yeah. No, what was the one I heard, the best one? I can't... Name a famous Robert. I'm on there. Shakespeare! That kind of thing.
I tell you what, this is a very tight table.
Very.
I mean, we barely see any flops. Talk about the ebb and flow. Can you? Really? Might kill some time, because look, it's happening again.
Maybe they're wolves, they're hunting in packs.
This is literally, either the button or the small blind will raise and take it. I mean, there's no money to be made on this table. Unless you're going to start playing, you know, call in first position, raise it up, freak them out poker.
You look bemused.
Well, yeah, I mean, I just don't think there's any point sitting there if you're going to play like that. And, you know, there might be a sucker joins the game at some point, but until that point, go and play somewhere else. That's been my opinion, honestly. I mean, you know, apart from anything else, it's not even interesting.
When a table is that tight, that's your opportunity to maybe loosen up a bit and become more aggressive, to take advantage of that fact.
Yes, yeah. You've got to be careful, because you can get yourself into a situation where the one player that raises up, i.e. the ace-king or the excuse me, ace-queen or whatever, suddenly you're pitched against them with your 6-7 and you're an underdog. So you've got to be able to take it from them on the flop. But I just don't see the point. I actually haven't seen a little run of poker so tight as that for a very long time.
Get some texts and emails for you. This one is from a guy with the name of a famous wrestler, Steve Austin in Manchester. Stone cold. He says, going all in on low pairs, what's your opinion?
Oh, Steve, I'm sure that's a text, so you've had to keep it brief for space-saving reasons, but it's, as I'm sure you know, and I've said it many times tonight, and I've said it many times in the last 9 months, and I know I'm boring, but there's so little information there. Going all in with low pairs could be genius, could be nonsense. How much have you got in relation to the blinds? If you're going all in for more than 10, 15 times the big blind, it's rarely right. Are there 3 callers in front of you? Are you taking all that money? Are you going all in against one raiser? Are you just going all in arbitrarily from first position? I mean, in general, going all in with low pairs is probably not the right thing to do, but in the mid to late stages of a tournament, if you've got 12 times the big blind and you see a pair of 6s and you're in mid to late position, it might be absolutely the thing to do, and take those blinds and survive another round. So it's so difficult. It's so difficult. I'm sorry, mate. That's not you know, a full answer, but it's so difficult to give a full answer. Basically, the thing you have to understand with low pairs is that they are vulnerable. You know, you are not going to win often with low pairs, but when you do, the aim is to try and win a big pot. So either you want to play that low pair heads up against 2 higher cards or 2 trash, just one-on-one, and try and have a small edge, or you want to try and get in cheaply for a big stack, have lots of potential implied odds, see the flop. If you hit your trips, extract lots of money from lots of players, and if you don't hit your trips, get rid of them. So going all in fine to try and isolate against that one player, but even that, in general, unless you've got a small stack in relation to the blinds at that point, probably the wrong play.
Got an email from Mantis Man with a question for Cass. When drawing with, for example, for a flush, why isn't one taking into account that some of the suited cards you need have been thrown away by other players? If it's down to 2 players, then 8 times 2 equals 16 cards are now dead, for which presumably the chances of them being a particular suit is about 4, no? So with the turn and river to come, shouldn't you be calling with 9...
9. What he's saying is, I'll just translate this because this is quite difficult. So what he's saying is that if you've got 4 to a flush, you're in a situation where you've probably got, there are 16 unseen cards in the 8 other players' hands. That means 1/4 of them, 1/4 of those, which are going to be your flush cards, are going to be dead. They're gone. Therefore, you had 9, let's say spades, -4, and that should give you only 5 spades left. Right? Mantis Man, probabilities are a funny old kettle of fish, and I'll tell you what I'm going to do in the next part is throw in a bit of a pro question into tonight's amateur night, just to mix things up a bit. But let me just say this. In a way, you've just got to kind of take my word for it, or take the word of any statistician or anyone who understands poker for it. It doesn't matter how many players are playing, because Yes, you're right, there are 16 down cards there, but of course there might be none of your flush cards in there, or all of your flush cards in there. We don't know. We haven't got a clue. And that's where probabilities comes in, is it's a measure of the certainty of what you can say. And all you can say is that of those unseen 47 cards, 9 of them are your flush cards. Some of them might be in the discarded pile, some of them might be in the pile to come. They might be, all 9 of them, the next 9 cards to come out. Very, very unlikely, but possible. They might be, all 9 of them, in the discards. So probability is a measure of, given that we know none of that, what can we say? We can say that by the river, we have a 1.8 to 1 chance of having hit a flush. That's all we can say. We'll pick this up after the break, because it's an interesting subject and a good email.
Going to talk some more about probabilities. Excellent stuff. Okay, if you want to send your questions in, we'll get some more after we take a short break. 62211 is the text number, poker@pokernightlive.co.uk. We'll see you after this break.
This week on Heads Up with Richard Herring, former England cricketer Ed Giddins, Kiwi comedian Terry Frisbee, and the man behind the EPT, John Duffy.
The Irish Poker Open is the third largest tournament in Europe. And in 2005, 107 players sat down to battle it out for the top prize of €146,000. Expert commentary comes from 2005 World Series of Poker finalist Andy Black.
He's gone all in with an ace-queen.
And features an in-depth interview with Ireland's most successful poker player, Donncha O'Day. The Irish Poker Open 2005. Wednesday at 8, only on Poker Zone.
Welcome back to Poker Night Live. It's Lyndsay and Cass with you till 2 o'clock. Watched some good poker so far, some very tight poker. The last cash game, which we watched. We're going to get to a tournament pretty soon, but we're going to squeeze in some of your emails and texts first. This one comes from Dublin, from Mark T. And he says, please answer my question on air, as I'm a huge fan and I watch every night. Well, thank you, Mark. He says, hi guys, it's a fantastic show. You're fast becoming my most important method of poker learning.
Why the delay?
I've been playing about 6 months. My friend is an online poker professional earning a decent living, and while playing live with him the other night, he remarked that I should definitely be moving up in the stakes online, saying that he was very impressed with my numerical knowledge and ability to read the game. Such a remark surprised me, especially coming from him, as I'm quite at a low ebb poker-wise at the moment. I feel like I'm not learning much because I'm still grinding it out at 10 to 25 cents. I initially deposited $30 on PokerStars and I've built it up to a bankroll of about $350 without a redeposit. From 1 cent, 2 cent up. I play cash games, the odd tourney. I, however, feel like I can't make any more money at my level. I'm currently reading quite a lot, in fact, probably far too much in comparison to my actual playing experience. I've read the limit and no limit section, system, 1 Harrington, 1 and 2 Ken Warren's limit book with Slansky's theory up next. Am I reading too much? Perhaps considering topics that are not required of me yet, like advanced inflection point play, etc. Or would the things I'm learning be more profitable if I just make a lump deposit and move up in the stakes? Can you read too much? I don't think so. Books are where the knowledge is.
Yeah, I mean,
I know what he means.
No, I do know what he means. Regular players will know my opinion on reading too much. Well, I said something with Michelle. The trouble is, some of my answers to this question is going to be quite repetitive of things that I say regularly. But first of all, talk with Michelle about learning, right? Learning's like muscle building. You do it in the gaps, you know? So you go to the gym and you put the muscle under strain. And then in the gaps, the muscle builds so that it can cope more with that load the next time it experiences it.
Yeah.
That's how the human body works. And learning's a bit the same, yeah? Is that you have these experiences which challenge you, and then your body goes away and digests that and subconsciously processes it so it learns how to do it in the future. And that's what experiential learning is all about. And it sort of bypasses the conscious learning mind sometimes. and just go straight into the subconscious. That's the argument for experiential learning. However, when people say, therefore, you shouldn't read books, I think that's nonsense, and I think that's an excuse for not reading. And by the way, I've got no affiliation to books and TV, audio cassette, talking with friends. The principle is the same. There's experience, and there's other people's experience. And secondary research is really vitally important. Can you do that too much? You can probably overload from time to time so that you just get into analysis hell. And in fact, Charlie Munger, who's an associate of Warren Buffett, sometimes the planet's richest man, talks about a lattice work of models. Buffett devoured the works of Benjamin Graham and put them together with lots of other models and created his own lattice work of models, which tried to incorporate lots of different things. And that's what I try to do as a poker player, and I think that's what everyone should try to do. And that's why there's merit in each book, but you should try and bring them together to create your own Uber theory, if you like. And what it sounds like to me, Mark, is that you're having what we used to call in screenwriting Act 2 problems. That is, you know, you've come into poker. If I adopt this, if I put this in the terms of the learning cycle, you were consciously incompetent. In other words, you were rubbish, but you didn't know you were rubbish. Everyone's like that at some point with everything. Don't worry about it. And then you get to a stage of conscious incompetence. In other words, you're rubbish, but you suddenly become aware of it. And you go, oh my God, I don't know anything. So now what you're going through is a stage which we call conscious competence. What that means is that you're getting better in a conscious way. You know that you need to improve this, and you're getting to grips with this, and you're reading this book, and you're having an overload, and sometimes it gets a bit too much, but you're fighting through it. And slowly all that stuff will start to pass from your left brain into your right brain, or from your conscious into your subconscious mind, and you'll become what we call unconsciously competent. In other words, you'll be great, and you won't even be aware of it anymore. You'll be doing things in your mind so fast that several months ago you'd have had to think about and slave over and that kind of thing. And hopefully that's where you try and get to as a poker player in everything, and that's the learning development cycle. But within that, there is a period of upset. It's what you experience if you've ever been a golfer. It's a very sort of tangible kinesthetic experience you have when the pro, who you're paying a lot of money to, changes your grip, and you go, hang on a second, this is completely different. It feels all wrong, and it's like horrible for the first few weeks, but then you realise that there's been a reason for it, and in actual fact your game improves immeasurably in the long term. So that's what you're going through. There's nothing wrong with it. It's very, very natural. My advice to you is, if you want to be a good player, keep on applying yourself, keep on pushing yourself just outside your ability, but make sure that poker is a game of profit and that you are making enough profit. You reinvest your bankroll in order to increase your bankroll, and you reinvest your bankroll for lessons at those higher limits. And that's how you get better at anything. And it sounds to me like you've got it licked, and all you need to do is just relax and enjoy the process. Keep on watching Poker Night Live.
Good answer. Good stuff. I hope that's helped you, Mark, and thank you for your email. Glad you're enjoying the show and you feel it's helping your game. Got a text from Nigel in Leeds, who seems to maybe have misunderstood something we've said previously on Poker Night Live. It's the legacy of Camcorder Steve. He's still with us. Now, a while ago we had an email off Camcorder Steve, who said he was filming himself in his bedroom while he plays poker online to study his poker face, to see how good it is and if it will help him, which led to much discussion from that. A text from Nigel, who says, I've been taking your advice and using a camcorder to film my poker face. I'm a dead giveaway with a good hand. Do you have any advice? Well, first off, you don't really need a poker face when you're playing online.
No, but I'm sure he knows that. And the second thing, actually, for me, is that it's not so much your face when you have good cards, because actually, when you're in a casino, you will suppress that. So I don't think there's any worry there at all. I really, really don't. The worry is not about what you do when you've got a good hand. The worry for me is your level of interaction with the other people. In other words, are you submissive to them, or are you dominant over them? And the first time you go in a casino, you're going to be submissive unless you're a very, very naturally confident person, or a bit of a show-off, or both, or what have you. So I don't think you need to worry about this, to be honest with you. The one piece of advice I'll give, given it before, is if you want to change the way your body reacts to something, is when you look down and see a pair of aces, start to see in your mind, in the front of your mind, big and bright, 9-4 unsuited. Okay, and that will start to suppress whatever body language you're good at giving away with the aces. But you've got to see it. You've got to believe that you've got 9-4 unsuited. But I'll be honest with you, that's not your worry. And it's, if you like, a fallacious exercise from the start. I don't mean any offence to it. We had a laugh when Camcorder Steve was talking about it. The problem in a live casino is your relative body language compared to other people, and the fact that people will see you, they'll sense fear, and they will bully you. That's the problem.
Okay, thank you for your texts and emails. Don't forget the theme of tonight's show, Cass.
Animals.
To remind the viewers.
Grrr. What kind of animal are you when you're playing? What was that?
That was the monkey.
That was a monkey? I thought you were an actress. I thought you did mime.
I'm not an actress.
That was a monkey?
Yeah.
They don't do that, do they?
Okay, what?
That's not a monkey.
That's an elephant.
Let's get to the game. This is
God,
embarrassing.
what's the hamster?
Where's the game?
What's the theme of the show, Caspar? We got sidetracked with
Poker. The theme of the show is poker, Lyndsay.
with our
We're
poker.
encouraging people to text in with their poker stories.
No, yes, but
And stop pestering us with this.
What's the relation to animals?
We're saying, what would you be?
What would you
animal
be? What kind of animal do you describe your poker play as?
Have you pinned your colours to a mascot, Lyndsay, or are you just laughing at everyone else? What would you be?
Me?
Yeah.
I've said a gazelle.
Oh, gazelle, that's right, because you don't
don't know
splash when
why.
you bounce into
Yeah, it
puddles
has
or
nothing
something.
really to do with poker though, so I'm not quite sure. I'll think about it some more.
Ken Snappet says, you want Kevin Keegan back, exclamation mark. I moved down here a couple of years ago after a few years in that part of the world. Brackets, well, okay, it was Sunderland and Washington.
Yeah, that's like saying that North America and South America are the same thing. It couldn't be further apart, Ken.
I mean, Ken, I've got a lot of respect for you, mate, but you're no Lady Lex, are you? She wants to take me out for a meal.
Yes.
How many times has Ken offered me a meal? None. That's how many. None.
Well, he wouldn't, would he, if he's learned his manners from the people in Sunderland?
Do they have restaurants in Sunderland?
Probably not.
I don't
no.
think it's their fault.
They don't even have a cathedral. How can you call it a city?
Because it's a special thing from the Queen, isn't it? The Queen pointed at it and said, that's a city now.
I must stop now. I shouldn't use this programme as a vehicle to vent my own personal prejudices against the people of Sunderland.
That is true. Bet the lot. Does indeed bet the lot. Queen 10 suited, raises it up.
Andy, the Centaur, says, PNL, great shows ever. I'd love to say I'd be known as a chameleon because I can adapt to any situation. But as I've always been a tall lad, I reckon I'd be more likely to be known as a giraffe. Though I suppose that would make me good at heads up. Hey, boom, boom. Good one, Andy. Thank you. If you want to send them through to us, the text number is 62211, or you can email poker@pokernightlive.co.uk.
There it is.
That's the text number on your screen, 62211. Get them into us. And the email address, poker@pokernightlive.co.uk. And of course, we want to know how you relate an animal to your poker style. And of course, if you just have a poker question, that's fine too. It's amateur night tonight, so ask anything. If you want to improve your play and you need help with a particular thing, send those questions through to us.
Tina raises it up with Queen 6, hits her queen. Doesn't deserve that, I don't think. It's unjust. It's a stupid game, poker, in a way. Or we should just call him poker hens. But that'll teach me for watching Duffy's email. And poker hen justifiably hits his king. No offence, Tina, but I'm rooting for the winner. And poker hen, never seen poker hen, but we all know what animal she is, don't we?
We do, yes.
She's a cow.
I wonder why poker hen.
Perhaps she's Scottish.
Let's hope she doesn't just lay down and take a punishment on this table.
I think you're confusing me for Nick or someone who likes really bad jokes like that. James. Nick or James. Save them for their nights, yeah? For me, more with a clever chat.
Who's the authority on deciding what joke is a bad joke now?
It's me. King 4 for Tufnell Park. Multi-tabling, as ever. Silly Tufnell. Don Pauly. The ace 5. 2 aces out there. Raggedy ace decides to raise it up.
I know what kind of animal Tufnell would be. A
What's
bat.
Why is that?
Because he's a cricket player, isn't he?
Yeah. And a lot of players will be, a lot of viewers will be somewhat angry with me for initiating this strand of thought tonight on Poker Night Live. Seemed like a good idea at the time, that's all I can say.
Oh, are you going to get a battering on the forum tomorrow?
Is that another pun on the word bat?
No, it wasn't. It wasn't deliberate.
I'll get battered like a fish.
Yeah, but I don't think it's too trivial, because I think it's good for people to try and analyse exactly what style of player they are.
Exactly what animal they should be related to.
Yeah.
Yeah. Tufnell. Is he going to park his chips in the middle of the table? No. Folds it, and Noah takes it down. Stop it, because you're getting me started. And I'm in a very serious mood tonight, and you've kind of...
You've brought this show tonight down to George Galloway's level.
I didn't watch an episode of Big Brother this year, so I don't know what you're talking about.
Well, you must have seen the front pages of all the papers of him pretending to be a little pussycat.
I did see that, and in the red leotard. Poker hen. Sorry, I just thought another one, but I'm not going to use it.
Come on.
No. Silly. Silly. Start off as a perfectly serious show about poker, it's just got silly. 5, 6, 7. Tina Angela with an inside under straight draw, so not the best hand in the world. Now, Poker Hen bats out with the ace-king there, and look at that. Tina calls, but with the worst hand, not even with a pair, is actually betting out with this under inside straight draw, which is awful, Tina. But Tina will probably win it with that. What can Poker Hen do? Unless he says Tina is always betting out with absolute rubbish. Was it good play by Tina or bad play by Tina? Sometimes the more aggressive, what's the word? Persistent, slightly naive player can take a pot down. Is it right? Well, it happens, first thing, so there's no point complaining about it. That's life. Is it good? Is it something to be lauded about poker? No, it's not. It's one of the problems with poker is that sometimes quite poor plays can have excellent effects. It's frustrating. It's ironic.
There's nothing you can do as well if you're sitting at a tournament table with a player like that.
No.
When they're going to keep betting at you.
No, absolutely.
With the worst hand.
Yeah.
But in that case, it worked for Tina.
Oh, sorry.
You don't have to apologise.
I'm soldiering on. You going on about me?
He's a trooper.
All night. Trev, aka Duff Mither, says, "Hi there, you two. You make a nice couple."
Oh, really?
A couple of what? I haven't made my mind up yet. He says,
A couple of plonkers.
"I would be a fly without wings because when I lose my money, I take a walk." Duff's a good player. I don't lose his money very much. Caspar does look like Vinnie Jones, he says tonight, apart from one thing, about 24 inches. Not where it counts, mate. Lyndsay.
That's too much information.
Please say, and this is a request, a Laura laughs.
Oh, why am I still a black now?
Yeah, go on.
Oh, hello, Chuckle, Laura laughs.
That's very good.
It's awful.
That's very good.
Surprise! I'm going to stop now.
Okay. Tufnell's made aces, but Poker Hen, look at that, has made the flush. Aces and kings versus the flush. The classic situation of aces not being able to put it down. It's 3 hearts out there. I know we're only heads up, but that's what Poker Hen was saying. Aces take another casualty of aces. Like in the film. That's very good. Is that your party?
No.
Can you do anyone else?
Nah.
Sure?
Yeah. Cheryl Tweedy.
Do Cheryl Tweedy.
Right, Ashley, man, come here. If you didn't stop it, I'm going to smack your face in, right? Nah. It's proper shocking, man.
Very good.
That one's easy, though.
Have you heard her?
Yes, lots of times.
Don Paulie betting out with nothing. Bet the lot. Just that. Oh, Don, what are you doing? What are you hoping for, Don? Oh no, Don, bet the lot all in. Even so, Don, you got nout. Nout, Don.
Sounds like a bit of a gangster, doesn't it? Don Paulie.
So does Ashley get a mouthful?
Probably.
Is he a bit henpecked?
I would say so, yeah. This is so embarrassing.
Has she got a loud, Geordie
on
mouth?
stage at a gig in Newcastle. Right, we're so happy to be up here, right, in my hometown, right? It's just proper mental, man, right?
Oh, that's beautiful.
Oh, poor boy.
It's lovely stories like that because, you know, you look at Cheryl Tweedy and you go, God, you know, you'd love to have just 6 weeks of Cheryl Tweedy, wouldn't you? And then you just think, no, actually.
I think most men would probably love...
absolutely bats.
They'd love to go out with Cheryl Tweedy if they could make her wear a gag.
Now, that's you.
Permanently.
Making the bondage reference this time.
Permanently.
So don't stop blaming me for bringing the show down. Taste-wise.
If Cheryl Tweedy was an animal, she'd be a Yorkshire Terrier. Yep, 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 yep.
Oh, Michelle. She's certainly very beautiful.
Yes, absolutely. Which is just as well.
That's how the Chinese drink their soup. It's the flavour into the mouth, you see.
Don't slurp, Caspar.
I am bringing some cultural richness to the show. And you are telling me off like a racist mother. I'll play the race card.
I've got an email from Christopher in London who says, great show as ever. Don't know what he's been watching.
He's been watching me for the last 3 nights.
Yeah. He says, speaking of animals, it brings to mind a question that I find difficult to answer. How do you know what kind of player you are? I'm reasonably tight, but only in relation to the low stakes games, 1-2 cent, and tourneys, $1. I play and I can be occasionally aggressive as I tend to take the initiative when I see weakness. However, I find the label tight and aggressive contradictory to many of the plays I make, and so find it difficult summing myself up as a player. I think this can affect my game, as like Sun Tzu says, know yourself before you know your enemy, or something like that. So do you have any ideas on this? Good email?
Yeah, it is a very good email, actually. I think, broadly speaking, Christopher, you're making a good point there. I think a couple of things. I think, first of all, to be a good poker player involves the ability to change speeds. You have to be able to adapt to the situation. And, you know, we get a lot of emails on this show asking how do you play against a maniac. Tom and I are going to address that in our next show, because it's a very big subject and issue and requires a whole show to answer it. But you're going to be a different player if you decide to play at all than if you're playing against a table of rocks. So you're absolutely right, you would change. And I'll give you another example when you change. If you lost your first 5 hands that you played, you would then do well to play a very different game to if you'd won those first 5 hands. Because if you win those first 5 hands, you're going to have a reputation as a winner and you're going to get far fewer calls. Whereas if you lose your first 5 hands, people are going to see you as a loser and they're going to call you down quite a lot. So you want to be playing absolute value poker in that situation, only ever betting when you think you've got the best of it. So that's what I'd say from that point of view. However, Sun Tzu is right, and there is a lot to be said for having some kind of a strong image. This is what marketing is, and we've talked about this in terms of your brand. What is your brand? What do you know that makes that brand slightly tricky or deceptive? And how can you use that brand to maximise your profits in the long run? So it's kind of a tension and a balancing act, isn't it, between those two things? I think, you know, I would like to disagree with a man whose writings have stood the test of time for 4,000 years. Sun Tzu's absolutely right. You need to have some idea of your breaking points, your limitations, what kind of risk you feel comfortable with, when the variance is going to upset you. And the key thing, actually, once you've known yourself, once you've got to a stage where you know yourself, is to then act within those limitations. Tom and I had a bit of an argument once about that, in the sense of, you know, are we saying that you should accept limitations, or are we saying you should constantly be trying to improve them? It's both. For me, it's, you know, you need to constantly try and get better, but wherever you are on that scale of getting better, accept that and play with those limitations in mind. But I think then you need to be able to be flexible and adaptable within that situation. And if you're not, understand that not every playing situation is going to be right for you, and crucially, get up when that is the case. But a really nice, thoughtful email there from Christopher. Like a lot of things to do with poker, it's not easy.
Yeah, but thank you for getting in touch. Let's head back to the tournaments. We've lost Bet at the Loss.
He obviously did.
He did and lost, yes. So we're down to 4 players. Got some pre-flop fold stats here. The percentage pre-flop folds when these players aren't seeing the flop, and they're Bet the Lot, top of the table there.
Yeah.
Playing very tightly.
Yeah, he had quite a weird playing style. I mean, that one hand, when I noticed when he did Bet the Lot, he went all in for about 8 times the big blind.
Yeah.
I know he was relatively short stacked at the time, but even so, it was a slightly counterintuitive bet from my point of view. So you can be tight, and as I've said many, many times, being tight is not the be-all and end-all when it comes to playing poker of any description.
Yeah.
You need to combine that with a lot of other things, and I always worry that some of the books do give the impression that if you got your pre-flop play licked, then everything else falls into place. And
not true.
if only that were the case,
Life would be simple.
life would be great. But then, of course, it wouldn't be, because if that was as simple as poker was, then everyone would be able to do it.
Everyone would do it, yeah.
Edge on people. As I sometimes say when I go to training sessions for companies, you know, they say, well, that's quite difficult. And I say, you better thank your lucky stars it's difficult, because that's why you get paid the salary you get paid.
If everyone could do it, then
If it was easy, you get
how
minimum
could you
wage.
be a winner?
Yeah.
Good point. Yeah, it's not going to be profitable if there's no opportunity for you to be a lot better than other people.
That's right.
So Tina Angela still going strong. Being quite aggressive from what we've seen, and managing to push people off pots.
Who's that, Tina?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to categorise Tina at the moment. I mean, some of her play has been quite weird, and I've been a bit rude and said that some of it was naive but effective. Hopefully, I've got a reputation as someone who does try and withhold judgment about people. We need to categorise people, and that's important. But actually, you find that there aren't many things that people can do that you can definitely put them in a box.
Yeah.
After 1 or 2 hands, you need to see different textures before you can do anything for certain.
I guess one of what Christopher was trying to say in his email is that he wants to be completely sure of what his style of play is, so that he's then confident enough to be able to market that to other people and take advantage of it.
Yeah, you see, what I guess I was trying to say, and I didn't actually say it very explicitly, is that I think it's less important to be sure of your style, which will change, than to be sure of what you can handle. So, for example, what sort of limits are you comfortable playing? What sort of variance are you comfortable with? That will affect your game. What sort of variance you're comfortable with will affect who you choose to sit down with.
Yeah.
What sort of level of judgment you're happy to take in a game. In other words, if you play a 10-handed limit game, it's a very, very mathematical decision. Yeah.
Yeah.
If you play a 5-handed no-limit game, it's a very, very it's a game based on your judgment and experience as a poker player and your knowledge of your opponents and and opponents in general. Yeah. That for me is more important in terms of knowing yourself as a poker player than are you tight aggressive, loose aggressive, tight passive, loose passive. And in fact, I believe that along with a lot of terminology and classifications in poker in the last 10 years, those classifications themselves are going to be superseded by much more effective ones that say a lot more about the players. At the end of the day, there's nothing wrong with categorising players into 4 boxes, but there are so many different things that a player can do, like, you know, going all in very frequently, which is not really summed up in those classifications, like check raising the flop a lot. These are classifications I think that we need to make about players, really.
It's not as plain and simple as just saying there are 4 strict categories and that's it. People are going to vary and people are going to maybe fit into 2 or 3 of those categories.
And really importantly, you know, it's perfectly possible to be a tight player before the flop and then not put the hand down afterwards. So are you a tight player or a loose player?
Yeah.
It's possible to be a loose player before the flop and then very, very tight on the flop. Are you a tight player or a loose player? So as a categorisation, you know, it doesn't really make a lot of sense.
It's what style you're going to play in that particular situation or at that particular table and how you're going to adapt to that table. Where we lost Don Pauly. 4 left.
Top pair for Noah.
And the flush draw for Poker Hen.
We could do it like it's like a duet, couldn't we?
We could, yeah.
That was a bit like Bucks Fizz, I think.
I'm not going to rip my skirt off if that's what you want.
Do you know what, Lyndsay? I don't think you can resist comments like that. That's what's coming across to me tonight.
Why?
I made one veiled bondage reference and you've picked that up and run with it.
You brought Bucks Fizz up.
Like doing the show with Jodie Marsh.
Look, just make your mind up, will you?
I like Jodie Marsh.
You didn't get it, did
Much
you?
maligned. No, I didn't watch Big Brother.
No, you didn't get mine making your mind up.
Oh, the Bucks Fizz thing. Seriously, Nick and James, yeah? Save it. No, I'm sure lots of people at home are weeing themselves, but...
Bet they are.
Me, laughing on the inside.
Oh, you're going to laugh so much tonight. We'll have to stitch your sides up.
Now, Greg says, I can't vouch 100% for the validity of this, but I once heard and believed that the whole myth about lemmings comes from Walt Disney, who got lemmings to jump over a cliff for a film.
Oh, really? Which film was that?
No, do you think Walt was actually on the cliff going, come on, off you go, actually waving his hands? Do you think he was urging them off?
Maybe we could defrost him and ask him.
I think that's a slight... I could be completely wrong, by the way. That could be exactly where it comes from. And thank you very much, Greg. It's a lovely little film trivia text. But there was definitely a film. The reason why, you know, at the end of films, they have to say no animal was harmed in the making of this production. Yeah. I think all the animal laws were brought in because it's quite an old film. I mean, literally made in sort of 30s and 40s, which it was a biblical epic. I forget which one it was. But for the scene which required a load of horses, like an entire, you know, hundreds of horses to run off the edge of a cliff and perish in the waters below, they just drove a load of horses off a cliff.
They really
into the
did
waters
it?
below, yeah, and killed like dozens and dozens of horses for the scene. And there's a bit of an outcry.
I'm not surprised.
It was deemed a little bit out of
So
order.
they decided to pass a law through Parliament, and that was it. Well, it wouldn't have been Parliament because it was America, so it would have been.
I don't think it is a law, actually. I think it's more a sort of Hollywood convention.
Just like a regulation that they have to.
Yeah.
I'm not surprised.
It was a bit naughty on the horses who hadn't actually done anything.
No.
But then, you know, no one's said that horses are suicidal, have they? So who knows where these myths come from?
Thank you, Greg. If you want to join in Caspar's big animal debate tonight and tell us how you relate animals to certain poker playing styles and why, then you can text us in the studio 62211 or you can email us poker@pokernightlive.co.uk.
I would be a bee. because I think when I go all in and try and sting someone, I end up dying.
Right. Well, in a tournament that would be true because you only have one life and if you go all in, that's it. Unless, of course, it was a rebuy.
In which
And
case
then you might be a wasp. Or a hornet. Oh, this is silly. Four-handed. And the blind's 163.20 now. Are you laughing at Ken Snappett's email?
It was very funny.
Ken emailed earlier on, quite disgusted by the fact that we wanted Kevin Keegan to return as manager of Newcastle United.
Yeah, and tried to claim credence for his opinion by saying that he once spent some time in Sunderland.
Yes.
Demonstrating that it couldn't have been very long.
Now Ken's saying that, Caspar, he will take you out for a meal, but if you think you're coming back to his place after, you can think again.
Why, Ken? Bit of poker?
And he says the meal will be good.
Heads
and
up.
Just so we can keep up the sophistication that Geordies are used to, we will find a Bernie Inn.
Or a harvester.
Hmm.
Can I tell you the funniest thing that Nick ever said to me ever?
Yeah, I really want to know.
We were in Las Vegas and we went to a place called Billy Bob's, which is in Samstown, which I do strongly recommend. Let's just have a quick look at this hand between Noah and Poker Hen. Ace 10, suited. Big old raising more before the flop. No, it doesn't know what to do now. He's got overcards, but he doesn't want to lose his 820. Poker Hen knows he can take this for a bet. And just uses a small one. Poor old Noah. Is he going to take that for the bet? This will be fascinating if Poker Hen now folds this. It's another 500 to call. Why on earth didn't Poker Hen set Noah all in? Wow! Look at that. Noah wins that hand. An absolute pivotal hand there with Nout. Poker Hen.
Was he representing the flush, maybe?
Well, yeah, but that's the one bet I think that, you know, I see his logic, but the problem is he gave him the ability to come over the top of him, and if he wasn't going to call the next bet, then don't make that bet. Go all in or check. Ah, Poker Hen. I feel for you, but I can't do anything. That's the key. I can't do anything. Okay, so we're in Billy Bob's, right? And Billy Bob's is famous in America for serving big portions.
Right.
Always to digest
It's not everywhere in America.
No, it's famous in America.
Right,
for
right.
serving big portions, right? It's in Samstown, the casino. And we ordered some Cokes and 2 steaks, right? Big steaks at that. And you get soup and salad with that, right? So they brought 2 Cokes in 2 buckets, and I'm not joking, they were the size of buckets. To which this wasn't the funny thing, but Nick turned to the waitress as she walked away and said, "Excuse me, I ordered a large." She looked really confused. No sense of irony. She always gets Nick in trouble in America. Let's just see Noah and Tina Angelina, because it's all happening so quickly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just checks. Is Tina going to make a little bluffy bet, try and represent the ace? Will Noah do the same thing and raise it up? No, just calls and takes.
Yeah.
Takes it to 3 players. Interesting. Tina and Angelina all in. Winning at the moment. Yeah. Waitress leaves. She then brings a loaf of bread.
Right.
That's our bread, okay? And for the salads, 2 bowls. How can I express it? The bowls are a diameter of about 1.5 foot, right? Filled with salad and a jug of blue cheese sauce. I mean, the calorific content is outrageous, right? So basically, we were just like, you know, like little school children, just completely over the moon. And we see Tina Angelina with her ace. Her hand needs a 3. Tina lives to fight another day. Well done.
Yeah, pulling herself back into it.
Absolutely, everything can change at this stage. And we poured our blue cheese sauce all over our enormous bowls of salad, which were absolutely enormous. And poker hen hits his 9. Tina's out at the moment, dead to a 6. Needs a 6. Not coming.
Nah.
Poker hen takes out Tina. Tina takes 3rd place. Well done, Tina.
Yeah, still in the money.
We were tucking into our salads, and Nick said, "Do you know what I want to do?" I said, "What?" Sorry, I'm just watching the game now.
Tell me after the tournament.
Thought I could combine the two.
No.
No.
Because we're getting down to the nitty
We
gritty
are
now.
nitty gritty now. Nitty gritty, heads up. Now we're applying the pressure there. Nice situation to be in. All good. Still
Fairly
more
big
pressure.
hands, heads up.
I think we can see it all going in here. To be honest.
Yeah.
Poker hand may well call with his king. Although poker hand has made some good laydowns. Poker hand demonstrated a discipline up until now. May live to fight another day, and does. Good stuff. Poker hand, a pair of 2s. Everyone knows. I don't like them. I know it correctly folds. King 6, again, time for pressure. Just makes it up now. I'm going to live with that because it's not always wrong. You need to mix up your play a bit. What do you do now if you're Noah? Poker hand, take it for a bet? Not now. I can see Noah pushing now. Oh, that's interesting. Noah's exploited weakness at most stages. I wonder if she's actually checking to get the call. I say she, I mean he. Knows that if she bets down.
Bless you.
Oh, developing fully fledged flu.
You've had that all night.
It's got worse tonight, I think. Now his big card run comes to an end.
You have hypothermia by tomorrow.
Yeah, day in bed
But
tomorrow.
sniffles get any worse.
Show again on Wednesday. Great.
Check.
Checkity check.
Yeah. Noah hits 5 on the river.
And poker hands hit it as well, but
yeah.
no hand has the. Well, it's 5s and 2s with a 9 is the hand, so it's actually a split pot.
Yeah.
Poker hands luck turning around slightly. It'll all go in here somehow. If we hit a 4 or a 9 on the board with no ace or queen, then the game is over. Let's see how it goes. Now we've got to call that. No 4 or 9.
No, poker hand's still ahead.
Poker hand going to win this hand. Pulls it back to 3,400. Can't help thinking that the timing of my next story is slightly out of kilter now.
Poker hand taking the lead now. And look at that, getting the hands.
that.
Aces and jacks.
Could be all over now.
Yes, I think so.
No, I'll push all in now. Oh no. Ooh.
Could be interesting.
Ooh. Poker hand dead to an ace. It all changes. All changes so quickly.
Yeah.
Look at that. You sit there with your aces, heads up. Yeah, you're fairly sure about counting the pot at that point, aren't you? But no. Oh no. Well, I'm afraid to
That's
say
painful.
that Poker Hen has made a mistake there at that point in the game.
Should have been in.
Yeah, you've got to really. It's horrible, but you've got to give yourself a chance to double through then, because you don't know what the next hand's going to be, and you've got half the stack left.
Yeah.
So, as a profit maximising move, I'm afraid you've got to push on the first time.
This time maybe.
Fold to the sixes. It's been quite a good heads-up battle as it turned out, hasn't it?
Yep. Not seen many flops. It's impossible to pick a winner in these situations, though, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, occasionally you'll have a player who's notably better. I think, unfortunately, well, Noah has demonstrated some aggression. Poker Hen's demonstrated occasionally an over enthusiasm for folding on a couple of occasions. So my money's probably on Noah. But the point about saying that is that that means that Noah will probably win, 7 times out of 13.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a very tiny edge, if at all. In fact, it's probably not even that. It's probably, I don't know, 11 times out of 20.
Yeah.
I'm dying here.
Oh, bless.
I don't mean my cold, I just mean my jokes are going down really badly.
What's new?
Yeah, you're so true. Poker Hen is all in, but has the power of the ace. Oh, Noah hits the 8.
Yeah, rivered.
That'll do it. Bad luck, Poker Hen.
Noah takes the tournament.
That wasn't bad play or anything like that. You had your money in with the best hand. Let's have a look at the chip needle graph, or as I like to call it, the ball of wool.
I prefer to call it the heart monitor.
The heart monitor.
Yeah.
That's the outline of the chip graph. Oh, what a shame.
Next time.
People in the gallery are teasing us.
They are.
Teasing us with information.
That's what happens when you big things up so much.
So Nick's sitting in the restaurant.
Yes.
This is all very irrelevant now, really.
You took it into your trough of salad.
Well, we're talking about our truffle salad, and this was all inspired by Ken Hawkins' email about Geordie's liking Bernie Inns.
Yeah.
And Nick worked in an office at the time where there was a local brand of restaurant chain very nearby that they used to go to for a lot of their business lunches.
Yeah.
Which used to really get Nick very annoyed because it was a very cheap brand of chain restaurant. Nick, tucking into this bowl of salad bigger than his head, said, actually what I'm going to do is, I'm not going to eat this. I'm going to get a bag from the waitress, I'm going to put it in a bag, I'm going to take it back to England with me, and I'm going to take it to work, and I'm going to get it next door to the local harvester, and I'm going to call the manager over, and I'm going to push it into his face. He said, I'm not going to say anything, I'm just going to let him figure it out.
I think you would probably just think that Nick was going slightly mad.
I've just had this image of this restaurant manager from Harvester going, what can he mean? What can he mean? Oh, I know, we give them really tiny plates and they only have them one trip to the buffet. As he wipes the blue cheese sauce from his chin.
Oh, God. Go.
Duff! A welcome return for Duff, who says we're a right couple.
Sticking with your quality theme cast, relating animals to certain poker playing styles, Rob has texted in. He says, I'm a beaver. I feel...
Oh, you wonder why
There's
they
a
post.
reason.
Yeah.
He says, I built a large stack and live off big fish.
Excellent.
Good one, Rob.
Nice one, Rob.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
You know it makes sense. Like it? So another cash game. Cass?
Cool. The ebb and flow cash game. All the boys look given. Johan, Snap It, Duffy. Let's look at a stat.
Stat away.
Okay, I will.
Go on then. Nice.
Now, that's what we like to see. Look at this.
Now, we looked at these earlier on for these players, didn't we? They've been playing this cash game for quite some time now, so you can see the differences.
Law of large numbers kicks in, and Ken Snappit is up the top. He's the tightest player at the table once again, resuming his crown.
Over the
Where
long
is Four King
term.
Ace? Oh, that didn't really work, did it?
No.
As a triumphal victory cry. Well done, Mr. S. Duffy down the bottom with 55, but he has only played a few hands, so important not to read too much into that.
There we go.
Do I look like a fine figure of a man?
You do.
Yeah. Soldiering on.
Soldiering on. I wouldn't like you to fight a battle for me. Goodness.
No intention of doing so.
You wouldn't be in my front line. Right, I've got an email.
I don't even know whether you're punning now. They've all just blended into one continue. I'll stop.
I'm going to read you an email, Cass.
Okay.
It's from Pete.
Okay.
Pete Shand in Luton.
Ah.
He says, "Hi guys, I've been playing poker, Texas Hold'em No Limit, for just over 6 months now. And I would just like to say that my game has improved since I started watching the show. I've tightened up my games. I find I was always chasing hands. I also never used to take into consideration my position in the betting. Watching the show, I've realised that where and when you bet can be just as important as the cards you're holding."
Good stuff, Pete. Well done.
Yes.
Thank you for listening and learning.
And he also says, one of the topics that comes up regularly, 7-8 suited or not, they never win me anything.
The thing about 7-8 suited or not is you have to remember they are a situationally specific hand, and you will win very few pots with 7-8 suited. They're not imbued with these magical powers, and I do get worried that, you know, beginning players listen to some of the discussions, most of which are had tongue-in-cheek, and then go away and develop very bad habits as a result of it. And I say that because I read a book that said that 9-7 suited was the nuts. And when I was at that stage of my poker career, I didn't understand the reasons that the author was giving for it, and therefore I just went away and started playing 9-7 suited and raising it in late position and thinking that was great, and it's not. 7-8 suited or unsuited will win you certain hands, will win you certain pots because of its implied odd potential, just like 6-7 will, just like, you know, just like Ace-5 suited will. That has high implied odds as well, and it's a drawing hand and will pay off from time to time under the right conditions with a lot of players in late position when you're confident that it's not going to be raised behind you. But as a hand, it has no special properties at all, and that's really, really important that people understand that. So I hope that little rant.
Dave, aka Jelly, says, "Hi folks, great show as always. A strange situation, but one I thought I'd throw out there for discussion anyway. When you're drawn to a flush in a pot with multiple people, do you take into account when making decisions other people that might be drawn to a flush also? For instance, let's say you have King, Queen of Hearts on the button. There are 2 hearts on the flop with no possible straight draws, and the first to act puts in a small bet. You think from the way this hand has been played previously that this person is on a draw because he or she regularly raises the pot with the best hand and check folds with nothing. So after putting this person on a draw, and the flush draw being the only real draw that this person should be on, do you take that into account after calculating pot odds?" Just something that popped into my head.
Okay, Jelly. One thing I'm not entirely clear about this is you say that when he's got nothing, then he checks and folds, and with a draw he does have nothing. I mean, he has a draw, but bear in mind at this point he still has nothing, and you're not going to make that flush two out of every 3 times, so that's very, very important to understand. So presumably you've got a bit of a read on this player that he does like to bet out with his draw. The situation that you've got there with your King, Queen of Hearts, because you don't have the nut flush draw, is one of 2 things. If he's got a smaller flush, you're going to make a lot of money, and you actually have the implied odds. If he's got a bigger flush, then you're going to lose a lot of money, and you have the reverse implied odds. So what I would say is, let's say you've got like a 10 high flush, you need bigger pot odds to draw to it, because not only are 2-1 to hit the flush, there's also a chance that you'll hit the flush and it'll be a second highest flush. So those are the things that you need to take into account when you're drawing to your flush, and also the possibility of making a full house. So pot odds are important, but you're not always going to win when you make your flush.
Okay, excellent. Thank you for that, though, Jelly. Hope that's helped you out. We'll get some more emails when we come back after a short break, and we're also going to look at a multi-table tournament as well. So see you after this break. Welcome back to Poker Night Live. It's us, the animals, Lyndsay and Cass, with you till 2 o'clock. Good show tonight. We're a bit of a theme of the show, talking about how people describe themselves as an animal when they're playing poker. Which animal best suits your play? We're going to get back to a game in just a bit, but we've got loads of texts and emails to do tonight, so thank you very much for those. We do love to hear from you. I've got a text from Chris Cass, who says, could you please clearly explain side pots? Who wins which pot, etc.? And he says, great show.
Okay, thanks, Chris. Good question, very good question, because it's a big issue, particularly if you're dealing your own game. Okay, here's the principle upon which it's based. It's based on a principle called table stakes, and all poker is played table stakes. And what it means is that you're only liable for the sum of money that you have on a table at the beginning of a hand of poker. Now, this is really vital. What it means is, excuse me, that the old cliche of someone going, I raise you the keys to the calf, it's EastEnders, is complete nonsense, basically. You can't do that. You can only raise what you have on the table. It's unlike you had the keys to the calf on the table at the time. I believe that in the old days of the Wild West that was possible, because we understand that we get the phrase the nuts from the ability of players to put the nuts from the wagon outside, the metaphorical keys to the Porsche, into the pot when you have the absolute best hand. But table stakes means that, let's say I've got $200 left and you've got $1,000 left. If you bet your $1,000, I can still win $200 of it, and you can't make me fold. All right, so it's the absolute essential, integral foundation cornerstone, if you'll forgive the tautology, of poker. All right. So what this means is, let's say there's now 3 of us to create a side pot. You've got $1,000. My colleague Lyndsay here has $1,000, but I only have $200. All right. And let's say the pot at the moment has $1,000 in it. Here's what happens. You bet 1,000, right? Lyndsay calls for 1,000, and I call for 200. That's all I've got. What we do is we take 200 from you, we take 200 from Lyndsay, and we take my 200, and we put those $600 into the original pot of 1,000, creating a pot in the center here of $1,600. Okay? But that means you've got $800 in addition, and Lyndsay's got $800 that hasn't gone into that pot because you've only put 200 in to match my 200, because I can only win 200 from each of you. So we now create a side pot of your 800 plus Lyndsay's 800, which is 1,600. And what would happen is, generally at the showdown, the dealer would say, can I see these 2 hands first of all, please? Yours and Lyndsay's. You would turn your cards over, and the winning hand will win the side pot. And then we'll take the winner from those 2 hands, and they'll be up against me for the main pot. So it's possible that I could win the main pot because I have the best hand, but I can't win your side pot because I'm not eligible to win it. And that's how side pots are created. And in games of poker where the blinds are really big in relation to the stacks, you very often get situations of lots of people all in and 4 or 5 side pots, which creates nightmares for the dealers to work out, but is really important. So that's the situation. You can win your side pot and everything beneath that. So you might be entitled to side pot number 3, in which case you can win number 3, number 2, number 1, and the main pot. But you can't, if you're entitled to side pot number 2, you can't win side pot number 3. You can only win the side pots that go beneath you.
Okay. Hope that's explained it for you. Chris, I've got a really nice email, Cass, from Tim in Hull. Who says, please don't think this is a bad beat story, because it starts out like one. I was playing in a 15 at 25-cent cash game today. I picked up a pair of aces, I raised, and another player re-raised. I re-raised and ended up all in heads up, pre-flop for $50. The other fella had a pair of kings and hit his 3rd king, so I lost my $50. Before the hand, I had seen the other fella win hand after hand. He was hitting everything and didn't seem to be able to lose. By the time of our hand, he had made a massive £150. When I got my pair of aces and realised I was up against him, I kicked myself and considered laying the hand down, as I had a strong feeling that I would lose. What do you think about acting on gut feeling, however irrational, when someone is in the middle of a statistical I can't say that word.
Anomaly.
Anomaly. It's one of those ones that just won't come out.
Happy to help.
Is it wise to test it? I'm like a squirrel. I hide the nuts and eat sick butts. Oh.
Tim, you have issues. Okay, Tim, I'm going to give you two completely... In fact, I'm going to give you three answers to this. Three answers. Answer number one. It's a very interesting email, by the way. I mean, there's lots of people throwing bananas at the telly right now and saying, what's this man doing being read out? But I actually think it's a very interesting email. Answer number one goes like this. It says, you've got aces, you want to get all your money in every single time with aces. Okay, that's answer number one. No equivocations. You have no idea what he's got. If you can get your money in with aces in the game of poker, you will make a very large amount of profit in the long run. That's answer number one. Answer number two is more pertaining to this issue of streaking. Not people running across the table nude, but someone in the middle of a very long and very noticeable winning streak or losing streak. Does the fact that he's been winning a lot mean that he has any greater chance now? If you're talking about play, if you're talking about, is sometimes you're going to make plays like really outrageous bluffs that work or slow plays that come off, I think there is something about someone's confidence in that situation that allows them to make plays that they shouldn't actually be able to make and that just work. And you see players like Johnny Chan famously coming first and second in 3 consecutive World Championships. Streaking is about a poker player's confidence being at an all-time high. And when their confidence is high, they make very, very good decisions for psychological reasons that I've put forward on other shows. When you're in a good frame of mind, when you achieve flow, you have access to all sorts of information that your conscious mind doesn't have access to. So I think there's credence to that. In this scenario, where you're all in, and he's all in, with your aces, that doesn't apply. So there is no rational basis for thinking that his past luck should affect this hand anyway at all. All right, now here's the third answer, and this is going to annoy some of you. Is it possible for us to know what the next card to come off the deck is? Is it possible? Well, the traditional answer is no. But let me just run something by you all, folks. I've said before, and I'll say again, because I'm boring, that for every 16 inputs we process consciously, sensory inputs, things that we see, things that we hear, things that we feel with our hands and our bodies, we process 11 million subconsciously. Give you one very simple answer. I'll give you two simple examples to explain that. You can actually feel the clothes all over your body. Do you notice it consciously ever? No, because you have to filter it out.
Yeah.
You go mad. You've got to concentrate on my voice, on the cards on the screen, what have you. How many times have you been in a bar or at a cocktail party and you've been having a conversation with someone? Yeah. And someone over the other side of the room says your name, not to you, but in the context of the conversation, and your head turns, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Because you can hear every single conversation in the room, but again, you filter it out. I want to juxtapose that a minute with the fact that ace shuffle tracking is a recognised way of making money in blackjack. It's absolutely mind-blowing. I know someone that can do it. They can actually shuffle track 4 or 8 aces through several decks through riffle shuffles. They can actually see where the aces go to a very high degree of accuracy, which in blackjack obviously gives you an immense edge, because if you know when the ace is going to come out of the deck, then it enables you to raise or lower your bet in a way that people who are trained to spot card counters can't spot. Yeah? So it looks like you're doing it randomly. In actual fact, you're doing it because you know there's a very high proportion of an ace coming out there. Right, that's shuffle tracking. That's something that people can do consciously. Okay, put those two concepts together. Is it possible to see a number of cards turned over during the course of a hold'em hand, notice cards getting exposed when dealers are dealing, and for some part of your brain to have not a perfect knowledge of what the next card is coming out is, but something.
Yeah.
Some kind of knowledge of what the next card is going to be. Is it possible? I'm not saying it is. I'm just saying it's worth consideration. It's obviously not relevant for online play if that's where it happened, but is it possible that you could have some sort of notion for that in a live game? Who knows?
Maybe. Interesting stuff. Okay, thank you though, Tim, for your email. We're going to head over to a multi-table tournament now, Cass. It's getting near the end. It's the final table.
Excellent.
There we go. 4 players left. Blinds 1,500, 3,000. So it's a $10 plus $1 to the house multi-table tournament. We start off with 223 entrants and 28 tables. Blinds have been going up every 12 minutes. And we had a total prize pool, $2,230. So we got 4 places left. Fourth place is going to take $178. Third place, $267. Second place, $434. And first place, $669. Might have a hand here. 8s up against kings. Alma and Tindari.
Excuse me.
King's still ahead. And Tindari's pushed all in now. Oops, Alma's lost a lot of chips there. Down to just over 7,000. The blinds don't seem that big, really, considering we've got 4 left. Started off with 28 tables, 223 players. Looks like we lost quite a few quite quickly.
Yeah. Fast bandit.
Yes, farce up there with Ace King.
Pair of queens for Alma, who needs them right now. Pushes all in, absolutely right. Or was it right? Bit of reverse psychology there, hoping that nobody has anything. Sorry, that people read you for not having anything.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm not. I think the old flu's kicking in.
Oh, all those throat lozenges.
I think they're making me a bit queasy.
Probably, yeah. Ace King, King 10. Oops. We lose Alma.
I like Alma. How much did Alma make?
Alma's gone. Called the all-in bet with King 10.
No, but how much did she make? How much did she?
Oh, now
was
I know
fourth,
what you mean. 4th place.
Yeah, sorry.
For $10 tourney, $178.
Excellent. Excellent.
So we're 300 now.
Excuse me.
It's going There'd be a rebuy multi-table tournament on tomorrow night's show. Very different, isn't it, the way they're played?
It is. You can take risks in those early stages to accumulate, and indeed you should, in my opinion. And it's not all that humble.
A lot of people just make stupid, very, very loose decisions and crazy plays, I've noticed on them, just because they know that within that certain time limit they can buy in some more chips and that's it. And if you can build up your stack and play a great game against them, then they're just adding money to the prize pool. That's the way you've got to look at it, I suppose.
Yep, definitely. Oh, excuse me. A fast bandit with ace-5 suited, just calling. A lot of blinds in the stack to make some plays now, so nothing wrong with that. Makes the flush draw. It's the kind of situation where you feel that you can break a player by slow playing up front, so interesting stuff. And with this much play in the stacks, it does give them the ability to mix it up a bit, so it makes for interesting play. As I always say, more big blinds in your stack, more ability to make decisions, higher the skill level.
Yeah, none of these players in the danger zone just yet.
No, not at all.
Lots of play left.
Danger zone being when you fall below 10 and start approaching 5. It's time to freak out! No.
You've definitely had too many throat lozenges.
Yeah. That's brilliant.
You'll have to have some hot milk and black pepper before you go to bed.
I really will. Heavens.
Above.
Pair of fours, bets and takes it. John says I can't be bothered, and Tindari starts to make a convincing lead. Ace-10 suit in the big blind. Oh. Queen Jack.
Yep. And Jack 3 calls.
Difficult for fast now. No position, no cards. Tricky there. Obviously, we know an all-in would have taken it, but so difficult to do, even in live, let alone online.
Yeah, blind's gone up again now. 2,000, 4,000.
Right.
John puts down his threes.
Is fast going to go out on this hand? He's got an overpair to everything but the nines, to the ace, sorry. And now, unfortunately, the pot 44. I'm sure it'll be a check and call. No, Tindari applies the river principle. And the funny thing is, on that
occasion, Tindari acted very quickly, but I'm not sure that was played right, actually, because the river principle states that if the opponent will only call with a worse hand, then a bet is pointless.
Yeah.
But, I mean, obviously we know that Fast Bandit had 9s, but I think Fast Bandit would have called with all those lesser pairs, 9s and 10s and jacks and queens and any of the other pairs on the flop.
Yeah.
Because Fast Bandit felt pot committed at that time. And because of the tremendous value to Tindari of taking Fast Bandit out for just 14,000 extra chips,
Yeah.
I think that bet on the river with the ace would have been correct.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, it does.
Fast Bandit pushes all in there with the aces, obviously trying to double through and get the call now, but her stack big enough to hurt the John, and therefore the John unlikely to call it, unfortunately.
Been asking people to relate animals to certain poker playing styles tonight. Rob's texted in. He says, I'm a gopher. I pop up everywhere and keep getting bashed on the head.
See, I think despite some early stutterings, it's worked quite well.
Yes, no, you're getting a response of sorts.
Oh, look at that.
Look at that.
Queen King versus King 3. Fast Bandit hanging on in there. How long will it last with Queen King versus a pair of aces, I ask you?
This could be it.
Overcards. Will Fast apply the brakes? Can get away from this. See, and that's what I meant, you know, would definitely have called that final 14 from Tindari had Tindari bet it.
Yeah.
Because, you know, had what he perceived to be a better hand than that. So gone out in third, did you lose a little bit of discipline there? I don't know. Not, you know, not the easiest thing in the world. Very easy from up here when you're down there.
Yeah. And these guys have been playing an awful long time. You have to remember that as well.
You do, absolutely. But you do also have to remember that that's what poker is. Poker involves, you know, if you want to be a winner, it involves playing for an awful long time.
Yeah, patience and dedication. But third place, $267.
Excuse me.
So a heads up now.
What do you think of heads up, Lyndsay? Do you like it?
Yes. I sometimes just play a heads up.
Really?
Online, yeah.
Yeah.
Just $1 heads up. Double up.
You like it?
Yeah, do quite well.
Are you a competitive person?
Yeah. It's very ferocious, quick playing chess. So,
Oh.
I often do that if I've registered for a tournament, I'm waiting for it to start, I'll play a couple of heads up beforehand and double up and pay for the tournament entrance.
Okay, excellent.
American Airlines for Tindari, but I don't think he's going to get any action off John. Oh.
Raising it up with ace 10. Taking it down. Blind so small compared to their stacks now. So much play.
Yeah.
And the fold becomes so much more correct because you just don't need to... Well, you can look at this two ways. First of all, I think barring big raises before the flop, then you're actually correct to make calls, especially from the small blind in this situation because of the very big implied odds.
Yeah.
But if a big raise is made before the flop, then you're incorrect to play it because you don't need to take that much risk when another hand will be along in a minute. And the second thing is you can be very, very tight on the flop because again, you just don't, you've invested, the pot is so small on the flop in relation to what you have in your stack, you just don't need to take any risks to win it.
Don't put your tournament life on the line.
Exactly.
When you've got you've got enough time to wait for a better hand.
That's right. As James Browning says, you know, imagine phoning up your best mate after this and saying, I went out with this. You know, it's really, really important that you go out with a good hand because there's no need to take any risks at the moment. At the moment, if you're in a situation where your opponent's playing the same way and you can see that continuing for a very long period of time, well, he may have a weakness which you can exploit at some point, but that situation may change, and you need to be mindful of that.
Yeah. If you'd be embarrassed to tell them you went out on that hand, don't risk it.
Yeah.
It's a good rule to play by that, though. Makes you think twice about it.
The John hits 2 pairs here, which is good because it's a nice pot, but Tindari has nothing, so it's going to be hard to extract value. Slow playing, which is more correct, heads up.
What's the longest heads-up match you've had to play?
I don't know, to be honest, Lindsay. I used to play with Nick for hours, but there were lots of different games. That was an interesting raise there by the John. I wonder whether actually that 2 pair should have just been called in that situation and slow played and really sort of teased and dragged out a little bit. We'll never know, of course. But obviously he doesn't want Tindari to hit a kicker of an ace if he had a bit of kicker, but we know that he didn't have anything. Interesting. Big raise, the John under no pressure to call it. Outstacked at the moment by 2.5 to 1, but as we said, no great problem at the moment. 7-8 suited, definitely a calling hand, and once it's been checked, they see the flop, and now the time not to need to take any risks. Tindari may call or raise this, but as soon as he does, then the John knows that the hand is done with. And despite the fact that it looks like a nice big pot, it's time to let it go.
Got a question you'd like Cass to answer before the end of the show, you can still get them through to us here at the studio. Text number 62211 as always, or you can email poker@pokernightlive.co.uk. Pair of jacks for John, he's all in. Not quite sure what Tindari was betting with there. But very, very even now. Chip stacks. Betting with nothing in hand. John, a lot of chips there.
Mm. Six-line suited. Zindari just folds the 4-jack. It's the 10. But Dindari, once again, has nothing. Poker's so interesting from this point of view. It requires them both to want to go to war, and that's the time when the decision comes in and is so important. It's about testing the water, seeing what sort of resistance your opponent will put up, or in fact capitulate under. Pulled over about level now between the two.
Blind's just gone up 3,006. I'm not threatening the stacks.
No.
He's just waiting for that point now where they both get a really good hand.
Mm. And this is one.
Mm.
Well, the Queen's smooth call or re-raise. I'm liking the re-raise, but I don't like that re-raise.
Far too much?
I think so. I mean, Queen's is such a monster hand, heads up. I don't see the point of closing it down, personally. As Nick would say, poker's a game of decisions, and if you don't want to make decisions, then don't play poker.
Yeah.
And that's what that sort of feels like there, and that could have been a winning opportunity. And you know what? I think it was closed down because of the just sort of misguided vision and image that people have of queens. You know, of course you can lose all your money with queens. Of course, they can be problematic. But I think overall, it's they're a great hand. You know.
He's got the kings now.
He's got the kings now. Yeah, less inclined to push with that. Less paranoid about them. Now worried about the old queen. Excuse me.
Bless you. Play the kings completely differently. John's got them now.
Pair of threes is the best hand, and it takes it down. And here's something of a matchup. Just now we're putting these little raises. quite understand little raises, I've got to be honest. Certainly not pre-flop. And then contrast that with now a massive all-in. Well, I think that's a boredom call, to be honest with you. I think he just had enough. I mean, he had nothing there, called with King-Jack. I mean, the money went in with nothing and the call was with nothing. And I think that's just the John going,
just
you know,
couldn't be bothered anymore.
Yeah, I can't be bothered because there's nothing there, which is quite anticlimactic. But it's quite weird that. I mean, they were both playing sort of a bit tight weird, really, sort of semi-good weird. I mean, you do see that.
It was like the John was quite happy just to settle with second place. There was no need for him to go out there.
No.
It wasn't.
But I mean, people do
point.
that. I remember once in Newcastle when a really great player did that with me, and it kind of freaked me out. Actually, I sort of thought, well, I've won the tournament, but I don't feel like I deserve it. Do you know what I mean? Yeah.
Okay, there it is. Well, second place, the John, $434. $669 for first place, though. Get a couple of emails here. This is quite a long one, so bear with me. From Andy B, who says, a few nights ago I wrote about a situation that happened to me in the late stage of a tourney. The last table of a 5-table single. I was under the gun and the big blind was 1,000. I got pocket 9, so I just limped in, calling the big blind. Of the rest of the field, 3 fold and 1 call. And either the big blind or the small blind raised, but as they were low stacked, they can't quite double the big blind. I told bet of 1,800. As I'm on 12,000, I want to go all in, wanting to isolate the player and go head to head with him only. But I was not offered the raise option as normal. I was only given the choice of fold or call 800. I felt that this totally stopped me playing my cards. You didn't read out the message. I wanted to know, is this a rule that I just didn't know? And then I saw some posts on a forum and it asked the same question and some possible facts. The first post said that I'm sure everyone has experienced the illegal bet. It doesn't seem right to me when somebody, the blinded all in on a certain poker site, I'm unable to raise. If I do it, it says illegal bet and freezes my hand, usually a good one too. What's up with that? And the second post said, that's happened to me a bunch of times. I've written and complained about it because 1 or 2 times it was a big hand that I would have won. They were pretty nice about it and refunded the price of the tournament, and they said they were going to try and fix it because it's a glitch. But I guess this hasn't happened. So is this an illegal bet or a software glitch?
Okay, I think there's a couple of different things that are happening here. First of all, the notion that in online poker you can do an illegal bet, in other words, that it can give you the option to do something which it then deems to be illegal,
right,
for me is madness. Now, I've never come across it, but that is absolute madness. It just shouldn't give you the option in the first place, so I'm 100% with you there. In terms of the first scenario, which, let's be clear, we've got our man who calls with his pair of 9s, he gets a caller later on, and then the big blind goes all in for 1,800, right? So he hasn't quite made a full raise, because the full raise would obviously be 2,000. There's one of 2 options here. Either it's a software glitch that says because it hasn't been 2,000, it's not a raise, and therefore you can only call.
Right.
Right? Or it's not a software glitch, and it's a house ruling. I think, as I recall, in Las Vegas, there were certain casinos where if it was an all-in bet, it had to be more than half the raise to constitute a raise. Right? In other words, let's say he could only afford 1,400, it's 1,000 plus 400. It then was not a raise, and all that had to happen was other players had to put 400 in to stay. Yeah?
Okay.
So it could be that this particular site deems that it has to be at least 2,000 to constitute a raise, otherwise it's just an all-in call, even though it does necessitate the 2 remaining players to put another 800 in. Yeah?
Yeah.
So that's what you could be looking at here. It's not necessarily a glitch. That is, I think, different to the posts that you cited on the forum that are about this phantasmic illegal bet, which is offered to you and then is deemed to be an illegal bet, which is outrageous, whatever the situation. You're either, if you're not offered the option, that's one thing. If you're offered it and then your hand is frozen, that's terrible. So my feeling is that you may be, whilst you feel hard done by and cheated, you may be wrong according to the house rules, and as we've said, poker does need to be played to their house rules, and those house rules need to be posted somewhere. And if they're not, and you are in the right on this, then you do have a right to complain to the site, but how much luck you'll have, I don't know.
Okay, hope that's helped you out, Andy B. Thanks for your email. Got a text from Moo, who says, "Hi guys, in a live game, I like to look worried most of the time. That way people don't know if I'm worried about a bluff or worried about getting paid. I would be a cow. Nobody suspects the tame daft cow."
Do people suspect you?
No, do you know what? I was waiting for that.
Are you?
No.
No, you're a cat.
You're
aren't you,
a,
with
you're
your
a
claws?
cat getting your claws out.
Oh, that's me. I always get confused. Who else have we got? Any more animals?
Naughty.
Yeah, Germanicus, he's an animal.
Germanicus says, "Hi guys. The way I've been playing lately, I must be a cross between a headless chicken and Pingu."
Why?
No. He's been all over the place doing crazy things and not even knowing why I'm doing them. And then leaving little chip stacks of despair as I go. Oh well.
Do you remember that episode of Pingu when he was wheeling all over the place? Bizarre. Absolutely bizarre.
Poor Germanicus.
Yeah, one of the weirdest episodes I've ever seen.
Little penguin player. And Snappet's got an issue with Newcastle United tonight, which is really
Good for
terrible.
Snappet. Don't let us have all the...
I want you to display your admiration for Newcastle United. Your support for them is very admirable, but it's like Ace King. People still follow it, even when it's clear it's going to win nothing. I suppose Newcastle fans could be called bone doggers.
It's not a bad point.
Traitor.
Well...
Judas.
all I'm saying is he's stating a fact, isn't he?
Let's go to a tournament. I'm in despair with you. Let's have a look.
Sorry.
No slagging of Newcastle is justified, Caspar.
No cash games available at the moment, folks. I've got a couple of minutes of $10 sit and go.
Yep.
Oh, I hope I'm better for Wednesday. It's no fun at all, this. Aces for Skinner.
Dave Jelly says, "I'm an angel shark. I sit on the seabed waiting patiently for fish to swim by and then snap them up."
Good for you, Dave.
Good for you, Dave.
It says AKA jelly. Does that not make him a jellyfish?
Maybe.
A tame daft cow.
Hmm.
Poor old cows. They often get a lot of bad press, don't they? They're very bad PR cows, I
They
think.
do, yeah.
Ace Queen. Ace Queen. Split pot with Ace Queen. Oh dear.
Oh dear, you're getting worse, aren't you?
I know.
It's just not.
Day in bed. Day of sleeping.
Yeah.
Lots of liquids. That's what you need, isn't it?
You need a hot toddy.
Pair of eights, raise it up. Good solid raise. Well done, the geezer. Takes it down. Textbook. Hoofy. Also textbook. Raise in late position with 9-jack. Spooky Luke. Multi-tabling or about to make a big mistake. Just having a little think. Nothing wrong with that. Leaving some time.
Yeah.
Hoofy, again. Ace 8, he's going to push again. Let's have a look. He does. Good stuff. You know, there's a funny thing, actually, which is that we watch these sit and goes day in, day out. And the site where I play is not 8-handed, it's 10-handed.
Right.
And the blinds are a very different structure. And the funny thing is, the first time I sit down at this table, I will be confronted with some decisions that I'm not familiar with. Do you know what I mean? Because I'm used to the whole ebb and flow
Of
the
these
site,
tournaments,
yeah, the site where I play. And it comes back to what we were saying earlier on about it's different when you're in the thick of it.
Yeah,
it's
you have
different
to
watching
adjust your programming and...
Yeah, it'll be interesting actually. Hannah raises it up with King Queen suited. Is Skinner fancying a call? He shouldn't. That's the gap principle. Get rid of it, Skinner. Good boy. And Hannah takes these blinds, and these blinds are worth 240 at the moment, so good time to take them. Ace King, a spooky look pushes there. I wonder whether... No, I'm okay with that actually, because 3 times the blind would have committed half his stack, so we know we're going in at that point. So I'm more inclined to do that with a hand like Ace King, and 3 times my stack with a hand like Aces, Kings or Queens.
Firebird's thinking about it.
Good stuff, Luke. Or should I call you Spooky?
You're spooky.
Me?
Caspar.
The
Little
ghost. Because I call you a daft cow.
Yeah. Stupid cow indeed.
It was rude. I apologise.
Don't worry, I'm used
No,
to,
all right,
I'm used to your insults.
No, I won't. Yeah, no, I won't.
You know.
You're right. You're absolutely right. What you might like to do, Lyndsay, if you've run out of emails for the end of the show, is make up an email like Michelle Orp did on Saturday night. Yeah. One of the most unprofessional things I've seen in broadcasting.
Made one up?
Literally made up an email for an imaginary viewer to close off the show because she read out her last email over the last 5 minutes of gameplay. Outrageous, really.
It's terrible.
When you think about it. Completely misrepresenting our viewing audience.
Not a good poker player then. Not thinking ahead.
No.
Not planning.
It was a moronic question. So I feel that's, blaming her viewing audience for her own inadequacies.
Yeah.
It's just a personal opinion.
But then you two aren't speaking, so you might be bearing a grudge and have ulterior motives for making that comment.
I'm speaking to her because I have a mental age of over 4.
Five?
Anyway, listen, she's happy. Let's not burst that bubble. Can't imagine what pain will come out.
Oh, what's been your favourite poker animal this evening then?
Beaver.
The beaver?
Yeah, building up a big a big stack and feeding on the fish.
Rob.
Hold on, Rob.
Is our beaver?
Actually, who was the guy who texted in with lots of things? Who was that? That was also Rob,
That was
wasn't
another
it?
Rob, yeah.
Maybe they say Rob.
The sheep who likes a fold.
Squirrel always after the nuts. The cheetah colluding with his mates. Hoofy hitting his hands every time he's all in, clawing it back to 1200. These blinds are going up. They're not going up quickly. They're just going up fast in relation to the number of players.
Well, we're going to leave that. We've got an email, a
Is
real
that
email.
a real email?
It is genuine. It's from Jacob.
Do you see how she's kept one back?
In Huddersfield.
That is genius. Genius. We should probably put that in the manual.
Jacob says, I was playing in a tournament at my local casino tonight and got to the final table being in about 5th position. Chips-wise, first hand I dealt aces and limped under the gun, hoping dead money would amount and there would be a raise and late position. However, the hand was left to myself, the blinds and 1 limper. The flop came 9-5-2 rainbow and I checked, hoping the limper on the button would bet out. It wasn't to be. Jack came on the turn, meaning all 4 suits are now out. The small blind bets 2,000, which I raised to 5,000. The blinds, by the way, are 400 and 800. The bet is called by both blinds. The river brings a 4 of diamonds, and I call the all-in, finding that the small blind has Jack 4 of clubs. The point of this email is a sniggered remark I heard as I was leaving the table of, that's what you get when you slow play aces. I believe this was the right play given my superior advantage pre-flop and on every forthcoming street. It turns out that if I had made a big raise before the flop, then I would have wasted a good opportunity, which I believe had a positive expectation. What is your opinion regarding the slow playing of big hands in early position?
Okay, well, first thing, Jacob, is we're not going to stand on the sniggering comments of our opponents because, as we've heard from various emails over the course of the last few months, they're invariably wrong. However, I've got to agree on this occasion. I don't say, you know me, tools not rules, I don't say that slowing aces per se is wrong, but what you've done here, Jacob, is that you've been worried to put money into the pot with the best hand, and it's never been that good a hand. In pre-flop, it wasn't that good a hand because it was in first position. Not just concerned about the cards, we're concerned about the position. On the flop, it wasn't that good a hand because you had no information about your opponents, and they could have had anything. On the turn, it wasn't that good a hand because there were 4 diamonds, and then after that, it wasn't that good a hand because it was beaten. So I don't think it was that good a hand, and I think what you've got to do is you've got to put money in when you think you've got the best hand, but not by much. That's a very important part of poker. So if you feel you did it right, Jacob, that's cool, but what I would say is most of the presenters here on Poker Night Live would be fairly adamant that you raise with aces in first position.
Okay, well, we're done for tonight, but tomorrow night it's $10 Stan James rebuy tournament, all the usual cash games and tourneys. Get more information www.pokernightlive.co.uk on the TV tables. Until then, we'll say goodnight.